Chapter 3272. Then, he continued, although we have 4-peak late, heaven stage great perfection experts, the supreme elder of our Black Horse Society is in seclusion all year round and doesn't come out to ask about anything. It's a bit difficult to count on him to take action. I will try my best to convince him. However, even 4-peak late, heaven stage great perfection experts may not be able to kill the 3 blood cloth underworld sect great perfection experts. After all, these 3 old ancestors are not weak, and they have been living a life of blood all year round. In terms of combat experience, we are not as rich as them. Yes, I also agree with President Qian's point of view. Pure Yang Heavenly Lord said, I think as long as we kill gloomy old ancestor and then force blood cloth old ancestor and underworld ancestor to surrender, let them kill Lin Yi, we can turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk. This is the best way. I agree. Dongfang Badeo said quickly. Among them, his strength was the weakest. Although he was infinitely close to the great perfection strength, he was not yet. So, in this way, if they wanted to kill the 3 blood cloth underworld sect great perfection experts, 2 groups must fight to the death. Then, he and gloomy old ancestor would inevitably be the weakest existences. The 2 of them would also be the first sacrificial victims, which was not what he wanted to see. However, with so many people killing gloomy old ancestor together, and then forcing blood cloth old ancestor and underworld ancestor to surrender, this was very easy to do. At that time, both sides would sit down and talk, and there would be no more fighting. Well, we have set this tone. We will kill gloomy old ancestor together, and then force the other 2 old ancestors to surrender. This way, our goal will be achieved. At this time, the most respected ancestor of the everyday and everyday sect, Ancestor Mad Bull, spoke. This was also the conclusion of the meeting, and it was the final decision. Then let's get ready. Tomorrow, we will rush to the headquarters of the Blood Cloth Underworld sect and find the 3 old ancestors. President Qian said. The early task of the vengeance meeting had been determined. Of course, if the Blood Cloth Underworld sect agreed to kill Lin Yi instead, then these people would not have to worry about it, and the second meeting would not be held. However, while these people found out about Lin Yi, the 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed Netherworld sect also found out that Lin Yi was being hunted by the Overseas Cultivators Association. Blood Cloak Ancestor, Yellow Spring Ancestor. That's what happened. What should we do now? Ancestor Eerie Woods hurriedly relayed the news that the intelligence team had obtained to the 2 ancestors. Although Lin Yi has yet to return from overseas, I'm afraid that there will be a period of bloodshed when he returns, right? He reckoned that there was a big problem. Moreover, it's not just him who's the problem now. I reckon that those sects that lost people will want to take revenge on us, right? Ancestor Eerie Woods' words made the blood-clothed ancestor and Yellow Spring ancestor frown. Yes, things actually turned out like this. They didn't expect that Lin Yi's stroll overseas would cause so much trouble. If they had known earlier, they would have followed Lin Yi. At that time, the 3 ancestors thought that it would be troublesome for them to go overseas with their identity, so they didn't follow. Moreover, Lin Yi only went to help Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi contact overseas businesses. They didn't expect that there would be more problems. But now, it was useless to regret. They could only think about how to deal with the upcoming storm. Blood Cloak, it's better to call Master and ask for his opinion. The development of the situation now is not the time for the 3 of us to make a decision. Ancestor Yellow Spring pondered for a moment and said, That's right. Then who should make the call? Blood-clothed ancestor nodded and said, in agreement, Let's go with Eerie Woods. We used to contact him through Eerie Woods. Ancestor Yellow Spring thought for a moment and said, Ancestor Eerie Woods didn't decline. He picked up the phone and dialed the number that Lin Dongfang left for them. Master, it's me, Little Eerie Woods from Blood Cloak Yellow Springs Sect. Ancestor Eerie Woods said politely after the call was connected. Oh, Eerie Woods, what's the matter? Old Man Lin picked up the phone. Since Ancestor Eerie Woods contacted him, there must be something big that they couldn't decide on. It's like this. Ancestor Eerie Woods didn't hide anything and told Lin Dongfang everything that happened in detail. In the end, he said, Master, we don't know what to do now. I'm afraid we can't protect Little Master anymore. Even we can't protect ourselves. I understand. Wait for my call. I'll give you an answer in 10 minutes. Old Man Lin said, indifferently as if this matter didn't affect him at all. Okay. Ancestor Eerie Woods said quickly. Old Man Lin hung up the phone and didn't stop. Although his tone was indifferent, the expression on his face was far from relaxed. He frowned and dialed another number. Old M.O., it's me. Old Man Lin dialed his old friend M.O. Kongwin's number. What's wrong? Old friend, what's the matter? M.O. Kongwin asked, literally, is there any trouble in the near future? Old Man Lin asked, what happened? M.O. Kongwin asked quickly, it's like this. Old Man Lin told M.O. Kongwin the situation in a concise manner. Let me take a look. After M.O. Kongwin finished speaking, there was no more movement on the other side. Old Man Lin didn't panic. He knew that M.O. Kongwin must be calculating something. As expected, after a while, M.O. Kongwin said slowly, yes, but it's not a dead knot. Can he resolve it himself? Old Man Lin asked after he relaxed a little. Maybe not. M.O. Kongwin sighed and said, I can't interfere with what's happening now. My strength is only SOSO, comparable to his opponent. You haven't broken through yet? Old Man Lin asked quietly, do you think it's easy to break through the heavenly Tao? Do you think everyone is as crazy as you? M.O. Kongwin smiled bitterly. Then, will Little Yi's life be in danger? Old Man Lin thought for a while and continued to ask. His future has already been decided. The moment he went to Songshan City and accepted that mission, it was already decided. M.O. Kongwin didn't answer directly. I understand. Old Man Lin's heart was at ease after hearing this. Chapter 3273. Look for you? Okay, let's go over now. Gloomy Forest Ancestor was slightly taken aback and immediately understood Lin Dongfang's meaning. If someone wanted to harm them, then with Lin Dongfang around, no matter how bold they were, they wouldn't dare to act rashly. They had to suffer this grievance even if they didn't want to. Lin Dongfang didn't say anything more and hung up the phone directly. Gloomy Forest Ancestor relayed Old Man Lin's words to Blood Cloak Ancestor and Netherworld Ancestor. Blood Cloak Ancestor, Netherworld Ancestor. With Master here, there's no longer any suspense in surviving this calamity. However, in order to not implicate our sex, I suggest we act in a high-profile manner and directly announce that we're going to the West Star Mountain Village. This way, the people from the Everyday and Everyday Sect, Dongfang Clan, and Black Horse Society will directly go to the West Star Mountain Village to find us. Eerie Ancestor suggested. Your proposal is very good. Blood Cloak Ancestor nodded in agreement. Then, let's go immediately. The three old ancestors left as soon as they said they would. However, before they left, although they couldn't say that they spread the news to everyone, they still marched towards the West Star Mountain Village with great fanfare. This action fell into the ears of the Everyday and Everyday Sect and the other two sects who were preparing to seek revenge from them. These clans and sects once again gathered together. This time, they originally decided to go to the blood-clothed underworld sect together. However, before they left, they received a piece of shocking news. The three ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect actually went to the West Star Mountain Village. What kind of place was that? Pure, young, heavenly venerate, your everyday after sun sect, is very knowledgeable. Do you know what kind of place this is? President Qian Boguang of the Black Horse Gang asked curiously. I don't know, but it shouldn't be a big place. How big can a village be? Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate shook his head and said, Don't worry about where this place is. We should first figure out what the 3 ancestors of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect are doing there. I think it's possible that they know that we are going to retaliate against them, so they deliberately found a godforsaken place to hide. Dongfang Badeo pondered for a moment and said, This was the only speculation he could think of. After all, the 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed Netherworld sect went to a place that they had never heard of, and it was a sudden move. It was a bit strange, no matter how one looked at it, especially now. The 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed Underworld sect must have received the news that the Everyday sect, Dongfang Clan, and Black Horse Society were going to join forces to deal with them. There is this possibility. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang nodded. Ancestral Master Wild Bull. What do you think? Kwangyo was a man of virtue and prestige, but he spent most of his time in seclusion. He didn't have any other thoughts. He thought about it, but didn't say anything in the end. He turned to Pinliang and whispered, Mr. Zhong, what do you think? This time, Zhong Pinliang participated in this revenge plan to gain experience for himself. First, he and Lin Yi had a deep hatred. Second, after he ate countless treasures and elixirs, his strength finally rose to the peak of the late stage of Earth class. Now, he was only one step away from Heaven class. If he wanted to break through, he must have an opportunity. Although the Everyday sect also had elixirs like Gathering Chi Pill, Zhong Pingliang was a person who wanted to be promoted to the Heavenly Tao. He certainly wouldn't take any Gathering Chi Pill easily. However, Zhong Pingliang's current identity couldn't be exposed. His identity was only known to the disciples of the Everyday sect. His identity to the public was a military advisor of Ancestral Master Wild Bull. Of course, it was understandable that Ancestral Master Wild Bull respected him a little. In the past, many emperors were courteous to military advisors, and the ancient sects who followed the ancient etiquette naturally didn't find it strange. So this wouldn't arouse the suspicion of others. I think that we've made a mistake, Zhong Pingliang said faintly and majestically. We must know what the 3 ancestors of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect are doing. Why must we know? What they do has nothing to do with us. Our goal is to find them, kill them, or make them surrender. The world is so big. Except for Heavenly Island. Is there any place we can't go as a group? It's really a wake-up call. Mr. Zhong is really a genius. Although Chunyang Tianzuan felt that Zhong Pingliang's words were reasonable, it didn't reach the state of enlightenment. However, he was Zhong Pingliang's disciple, so naturally he didn't forget to flatter his master, and Dongfang Badeo and Qian Boguang. Although they didn't think that Zhong Pingliang's words were so magical, they also felt that Zhong Pingliang's words were right. Their purpose was to find the 3 ancestors of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect to settle accounts, who cared about what they were doing in the West Star Mountain Village. Thinking of this, Dongfang Badeo also nodded. Mr. Zhong is right, then let's pack up and get ready to go. So, the revenge squad formed by these people also followed the direction of the navigator and went to the West Star Mountain Village. However, when they set off, the 3 ancestors had already arrived at the West Star Mountain Village at this moment. For the Masters of the Peak Late Stage of Heaven Stage and the Masters of the Peak Late Stage of Heaven Stage, it actually didn't take too much time to run to the West Star Mountain Village with their legs. In the yard last time, the ancestors of the Blood Cloak Ancestor, the Netherworld Ancestor, and the Mad Bull Ancestor once again met their master, Lin Dongfang, who they respected and feared. Blood Cloak, Netherworld, Ghastly Forest, greets the master. The 3 ancestors, who were highly respected and famous in the ancient world, at this moment in front of Lin Dongfang, greeted him respectfully like children. Well, you're here. Lin Dongfang glanced at the three people in front of him and nodded. Master, it's our fault. Not only did we fail to help the little master, but we also brought trouble to the little master. Now, the three of us can't even protect ourselves. The ghastly forest ancestor had a bitter face and apologized carefully. Lin Dongfang waved his hand indifferently. Although he didn't get a clear reply from Mo Kongwen, Lin Dongfang already knew at this moment that Lin Yi wouldn't have too big a problem. He should be able to get through it. As the saying goes, things will sort themselves out when they get there. Therefore, Lin Dongfang didn't blame the three people in front of him. In any case, the three people in front of him had good intentions. Without their help, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to resolve the crisis so easily. Chapter 3274. Lin Dongfang said to them, All right, let's not talk about this. Have you eaten yet? Let's go. I'll treat you today. Let's go to Widow Wang's snack shop and have some wine. I haven't had meat in a long time. Old Man Lin's words made the three old ancestors speechless. Go to the snack stall to have a sumptuous meal? Did Lin Dongfang have to be so miserable? He was an elite in the Tao of Heaven, and he had actually fallen to a state where he had to go to a snack stall to eat. This was practically inconceivable. However, they didn't dare to say anything. In their opinion, old Lin didn't want to earn money because he wanted to train Lin Yi. Therefore, Ancestor Yinsen quickly said, No need, we'll treat you master. This small amount of money is nothing to the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Ancestor Yinsen didn't pretend to be polite. What he said was the truth. The Blood Cloak Underworld sect was an assassin organization in the cultivation world. They had plenty of money. Lin Dongfang smiled faintly and didn't feel embarrassed. When Little Yi was an assassin in his master's organization, he earned a lot of money for me. However, I donated it to the orphanage and the poor mountain area. Master is right. We should donate too. Ancestor Yinsen was a smart man. He quickly said, No wonder little master always helped Songshan Orphanage. It's because of your teachings. We're deeply influenced. When we go back, we'll donate all the Blood Cloak Underworld Sex Bear funds to Songshan Orphanage. That's not necessary. Lin Dongfang shook his head. It's not easy for you to earn money. It's fine if you donate some, but not all. This is Little Yi's business. We shouldn't interfere. That's right. Master is right. If we interfere too much, he won't be able to gain experience. Ancestor Yinsen said quickly. As the four of them spoke, they arrived at the snack and grocery store opened by Widow Wang at the entrance of West Star Mountain Village. This was the only shop in West Star Mountain Village. Dr. Lin, what do you want to buy? Widow Wang asked passionately when she saw Lin Dongfang walking in. Lin Dongfang was a famous miracle doctor in the surrounding villages. Hence, he was highly respected by the people here. Oh, I'm not buying anything. A few friends are here. Why don't you cook a few dishes for us? Let's drink a few cups, old Lin said to Widow Wang. All right, it's still the same old thing, right? Widow Wang knew what Lin Dongfang liked to eat. Although Lin Dongfang didn't come here often, he would come here once a month to eat. Especially when Lin Yi wasn't at home, Lin Dongfang would come here more frequently. There was no other way. When Lin Yi wasn't at home, there was no one to cook for him. Lin Dongfang had to eat a few times a month to satisfy his cravings. Sure, give me 4 bottles of herb. Lin Dongfang nodded. Okay. Widow Wang was quite trendy and could even speak English. The 3 old ancestors were all cultivators, so they naturally had a high tolerance for alcohol. Although the alcohol content of this ergotu was high, it was nothing to them. Soon, the dishes and wine were served on the table. Although the restaurant was small, there were a lot of food. There was fish and meat and vegetables, and there was no shortage of side dishes. What a great place! Master, the 3 of us give you a toast to thank you for saving our lives. Old Ancestor Eerie Woods, Old Ancestor Netherworld, and Old Ancestor Shui stood up at the same time and raised the first cup of wine respectfully. Lin Dongfang had no choice but to raise his cup and accept it. As for Widow Wang, even though she heard what Old Ancestor Eerie Woods and the others said, she didn't care. Lin Dongfang was a doctor, so it was normal for him to save their lives. It was no big deal. In Widow Wang's opinion, Lin Dongfang treated the three of them, so the three of them treated Lin Dongfang to express their gratitude. Therefore, she deliberately served a few more dishes. Anyway, it wasn't Lin Dongfang who was paying. Since someone was treating, she should take the opportunity to sell more. Lin Dongfang saw that there were several times more dishes than usual, but he didn't stop them. After all, there were many people today. Moreover, Lin Dongfang usually went on a diet to donate to those poor children. Today, it was Old Ancestor Eerie Woods and the others who were treating, so he ate more and enjoyed the good food. The few of them toasted each other. Only then did Ancestor Yin-sun and the other two become more familiar with Lin Dongfang. Seeing Lin Dongfang gulping down wine and eating meat, it was hard for them to associate this harmless old man with the ruthless Vajra dual evils who had swept through the ancient times. After all, the difference was a bit too big. This kind village doctor and the terrifying demon king were two different people. Of course, although they were puzzled, they did not doubt Lin Dongfang's ability. Generally, the experts had their own habits and tempers. However, when the four people were eating happily, a group of uninvited guests came to West Star Mountain Village. "Young man, give me 5 pounds of sticky cakes. By the way, I will ask if there were a few old men who came to your village before, dressed like us." The one who asked the question was Dongfang Badeo. The cultivators at the ancient level generally wore robes, which were relatively retro. Although the Dongfang family was trendy, Dongfang Badeo would still choose robes when he attended some important occasions. The young man who was asked was a street vendor of sticky cakes in West Star Mountain Village. Seeing that there was business, he was naturally very enthusiastic and said, "Okay, speaking of old men who are dressed similarly to you, there are indeed 3 of them. Are you all together?" As the young man spoke, he skillfully weighed the sticky cakes and handed them to Dongfang Badeo. "Yes, we are together. They arrived first. The mobile phone signal in your village is not very good. We can't get in touch with them. Can you tell me where they are?" Dongfang Badeo took out 100 yuan and handed it to the young man. He said, "Don't keep the change. The rest is the travel fee." Of course, if they searched door to door, they could find them, but it was easy to alert the enemy. If the 3 old ancestors wanted to hide, they couldn't find each other. Moreover, it was a bit unreasonable for the ancient level to openly interfere with the secular world. So Dongfang Badeo chose the most convenient way to eavesdrop. "Really? Thank you so much." The young man happily took the money, then pointed to the direction of the village and said, "Are you from the big city? You guys are really rich." They went to Widow Buzzhead's restaurant as soon as they arrived. Chapter 3275. Then you go ahead. I am going to sell sticky cakes. The young man happily pushed the cart and left. Dongfang Badeo waited for the young man to leave, threw a piece of sticky cake into his mouth, and then distributed the bag to others. He was a little hungry, chewing the sticky cake, and wondered, you say, the 3 people of the blood-clothed Yellow Spring sect came here and went to eat. What do they mean? Did they come to this deserted village just to have a meal? It was no wonder that he thought so. When they came to West Star Mountain Village, their first impression was that it was extremely desolate. It was hard for them to imagine why the 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect came to such a remote and backward place. Did they want to inspect the terrain and move the blood-clothed underworld sect to this place? Only the ancient sects would choose such a remote place, right? In addition, Dongfang Badeo really couldn't think of a second possibility. Who knows, but although this place is remote, it is good to develop a sect. Could it be that the blood-clothed underworld sect feels that they have offended too many people, so they want to move their headquarters here? President Qian Buguang took a bite of the sticky cake, then frowned and said, "Who cares what they do? Let's go and settle accounts with them directly." Zhong Pingliang was a little eager to try. He had been dead for so long, and it had been a while since his resurrection. He had not been out of an everyday sect. This was the first time he came back to the underworld, and he was naturally eager. Yes, Mr. Zhong is right. We are not roundworms in the stomach of the blood-clothed underworld sect. Why do we care what they do? Let's go and settle accounts with them directly, Pure Yang Tianzuan said, immediately after listening to Zhong Pingliang's words. That's right. Then let's go. Dongfang Badeo nodded. They walked toward Widow Wang's grocery store at the head of the village. When they saw the shabby grocery store, they frowned. The three ancestors of the blood-clothed netherworld sect were people who had seen the world. How could they eat in such a low-class place? Was there something wrong with them? However, several people still walked into the grocery store. What surprised them was that, on a table not far away, they saw the three ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect, Ancestor Netherworld, and Ancestor Insen. However, there was another person sitting opposite them, and they didn't know what this person was doing. Of course, they didn't care. Who cares what this person was doing? Irrelevant people dared to meddle in other people's business. Bosses, are you here to buy or to eat? When Widow Wang saw another group of well-dressed people, she thought that they were in cahoots with Patriarch Netherworld and the others. She thought to herself, I'm really lucky today. I'm going to make a fortune. President Qian Buguang of the Black Horse Gang took the lead. He didn't pay attention to Widow Wang. In his eyes, Widow Wang was almost the same as an ant. His purpose here was to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. He wanted to kill Ancestor Insen and force the remaining two ancestors to submit. In fact, from a personal point of view, the hatred between the blood-clothed underworld sect and the president of the Black Horse Gang was not the biggest. Qian Buguang actually looked down on the dead Supreme Elder. That person was an expert of the older generation who first stepped into the peak late stage of Heaven Stage. He didn't put Qian Buguang, the president, in his eyes. Even if Qian Buguang was promoted to the peak late stage Heaven Stage Great Perfection, that old thing still ignored him. To be honest, when his strength was weaker than him, Qian Buguang tolerated it. After all, although he was the president, in the cultivation world, strength was respected. So the other party ignored his orders. But now he was also an expert of the peak late stage Heaven Stage Great Perfection, and the other party still had such an attitude. It was a bit problematic. Therefore, this person was dead. From Qian Buguang's point of view, he didn't need to be angry. However, from the perspective of the Black Horse Gang, this person was an expert of the peak late stage Heaven Stage Great Perfection. He was the pillar of the Black Horse Gang. His death would have a huge impact on the overall strength of the Black Horse Gang. Of course, there was another point. The person who killed the elder on the stage was from the blood-clothed underworld sect. It was reasonable to say that the blood-clothed underworld sect and the Black Horse Gang were both ancient sections. They took people's money to eliminate disasters. The two were similar in nature, but there was no conflict in their business. Therefore, they had always appreciated each other and minded their own business. Now, the blood-clothed underworld sect broke the rules first. How could Qian Buguang not be angry? Therefore, this hatred was huge. Today, he must personally kill old ancestor Insun to restore the Black Horse Gang's face. Otherwise, he would be the president for nothing. Hey, you guys, you are. Widow Wang looked at the people who entered the door. Their faces were all gloomy. Suddenly, her heart trembled. Could it be that these people were not here to eat? Were they here to cause trouble? But I'm just a small shop in a mountain village. I haven't offended anyone. Why are they here to cause trouble? You stay away. We are here to find someone to settle the score. It's none of your business. Dongfang Badeo looked at Widow Wang coldly and said overbearingly, "Ah, looking for someone?" Widow Wang was shocked. In this house, besides old Lin, there were only 3 people who were dressed like them. Could it be that they were here to find those 3 people? These 3 people were really troublemakers. Don't implicate Dr. Lin. If something happened to Dr. Lin, who would the patients in the surrounding villages find for treatment? However, although she was anxious, these people were obviously not here with good intentions. Widow Wang didn't dare to say anything. She could only cough twice as a warning and let old Lin quickly leave. These people could do whatever they wanted. She could only admit that she was unlucky if the shop was destroyed. Blood-clothed, underworld, In-sun, you didn't expect it, right? You hid so far away, but we still found you? Pure young Empyrean snorted coldly and looked at the only customer in this small shop. It's useless to hide. Today, we are here to avenge our dead brothers. Pure Empyrean died in your hands, right? We, the blood-clothed underworld sect, take money from others to eliminate disasters. This has always been our rule. If those who died had the same idea as you, then we wouldn't be in this business, blood-clothed old ancestor said faintly. Chapter 3276. Qian Peguang's words were mocking Blood Cloak Ancestor. Unexpectedly, Blood Cloak Ancestor nodded seriously and said, "Yes, our Blood Cloak Underworld sect does have a strong background and a strong backer. Of course, we are not afraid that someone will come to seek revenge." Huh? Qian Peguang was slightly stunned, and then laughed even harder. Did you hear that? These 3 old things said that they had a backer, and a very powerful one at that. Ha ha ha! I say, have you heard that the Blood Cloak Underworld sect has a strong backer? No. Dongfang Badeo simply shook his head. What about the friends from the Sun Restores Sun sect? You are one of the oldest ancient sections. Have you heard of the backer of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect? Qian Peguang turned to look at Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate and continued to ask. No. Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate also shook his head. Ha ha, Blood Cloak Ancestor, you are really funny. At this time, you still want to lie to us. Do you think we will believe it again after believing that Lin can fight against enemies of a higher level? Qian Peguang said mockingly, since you have a backer, we won't kill you first. We'll give you a chance to ask for a backer. Call your backer out, and we'll talk to him. Let's see what kind of idiot dares to be your backer. Okay, that's fine. The blood-clothed ancestor nodded seriously. Then he said nothing more. After listening to Blood Cloak Ancestor's words, Qian Peguang was stunned, but he still waited patiently for Blood Cloak Ancestor to continue. However, after waiting for a long time, Blood Cloak Ancestor did not continue to say anything, so he asked impatiently, "Where is he? Your backer? Why don't you move?" "He is far away, but close at hand." Blood Cloak Ancestor made an introduction gesture and pointed at Lin Dongfang. At this moment, Lin Dongfang was sitting with his back to the people, so these people had been in for so long and directly ignored him. What? Qian Peguang's eyes widened, and then he laughed until he was out of breath. Ha ha ha! I say, you guys are not serious, right? You randomly found a country bumpkin and told me that he's your backer? Don't tell me this old farmer is your backer? Yes, Blood Cloak Ancestor nodded and said, Mr. Dongfang is the boss behind the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Uff, cough, cough, cough. Qian Peguang almost burst out laughing. Mr. Dongfang? Don't tell me he's from the Dongfang family? The head of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Badeo, is here. Oh, no, his name is Dongfang. As for his surname, you don't deserve to know. Ancestor Blood Cloak said faintly, Lin Dongfang had never revealed his name in the ancient times. Only a few people who were close to him knew his name. Really? Mr. Dongfang, then stand up and show us why you dare to be the backer of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Since you're the boss behind the scenes, we'll let you pay for this. Qian Peguang still did not believe that Lin Dongfang was the backer and the boss behind the scenes of the Blood Cloak Underworld sect. The reason was very simple. In his opinion, the old farmer was a temporary scapegoat that the Blood Cloak Underworld sect found, perhaps Ancestor Blood Cloak, and the others thought that by pushing this person out and then being killed by them, they could avoid their punishment. Humph, they underestimated their intelligence too much, didn't they? Well, since you all want to talk to me, then I'll talk to you. Lin Dongfang smiled slightly and stood up from his seat. At this moment, the laziness of a country bumpkin doctor was all gone. Instead, it was replaced by a kind of domineering and indifference of a superior. Hearing old Lin's pretentious words, Qian Peguang laughed again. Behind him, the people who came with him were basically thinking that the old farmer was a scapegoat that the Blood Cloak Underworld sect found. However, the old farmer didn't know that he was going to die soon. Lin Dongfang stood up and slowly turned around. His eyes were bright and full of expression as he stared at the people who had come to the grocery store. Among them, there were unfamiliar faces and also familiar faces. For a moment, he was filled with emotions. You are... The first person who recognized Lin Dongfang was actually Zhong Pingliang, but it was no wonder. How could he forget the person who killed him with one punch? What a terrifying memory it was. He, the mad dragon ancestor, a peak late-stage heaven-class great perfection expert, was actually killed with one punch? Who would believe it? However, this had really happened and existed more than a decade ago. During the years in the tomb, the person in front of him was the mad dragon ancestor's nightmare. Even after the mad dragon ancestor came back to life with Zhong Pingliang's body, the person in front of him was one of the people he didn't want to see the most in his life. Yes, it was too tragic. Zhong Pingliang looked at the person in front of him and didn't even have the slightest intention of fighting back. This was the absolute difference in strength, an insurmountable moat. It was different from the grudge between him and Lin Yi. Zhong Pingliang and Lin Yi, no matter what, had the same starting line. They were both high school classmates. He felt that he had the ability to kill Lin Yi, but this person in front of him, Zhong Pingliang felt that even if he trained for 100 years, it would be a waste. Even if he really ascended to heavenly Tao, he probably wouldn't be this person's opponent. After all, this person was said to be a heavenly Tao master more than a decade ago, or maybe even higher. Lin Dongfang looked at Zhong Pingliang suspiciously. He didn't know this person, nor had he seen him before, but he did see the person beside him. Guangyou, right? I haven't seen you for more than a decade. What are you doing here? Lin Dongfang smiled at Guangyou ancestor and asked, ugh. Guangyou ancestor broke out in a cold sweat. He recognized the person in front of him. Wasn't this one of the killer Vajra? Why was he here? Didn't he disappear? Did he bring a group of people to Jindao? But no matter how Lin Dongfang appeared here, Guangyou ancestor was trembling in fear, but he didn't dare to ignore Lin Dongfang's question. He had no choice, his mind raced. Guangyou ancestor suddenly saw the bucket of soy sauce in the grocery store and was overjoyed. He quickly said, Mr. Dongfang, I'm here to buy soy sauce. With that, Guangyou ancestor turned to look for Widow Wang, shouting, Lady boss, give me some soy sauce. Sigh. This soy sauce, it's gone so quickly. Chapter 3285. Accept me as a younger brother. The reaction of the Mad Bull Patriarch made the people present stunned, and his performance finally made Dongfang Badeo and another elder of the Black Horse Club, who was silent all the way and did not say a word, recognize Lin Dongfang. Of course, it was not that they didn't want to recognize him before, but they didn't dare to recognize him. After all, There were too many similar people in this world. They didn't want the person in front of them to be that person. If the person in front of them was that person, then he was the behind-the-scenes boss of the blood-cloth underworld sect. Then, what revenge could they take? It would be good if they could go back. This little friend, do we know each other? Lin Dongfang looked at Zhong Pingliang and asked with some doubts. Among them, except for Zhong Pingliang, Qian Boguang of the Black Horse Gang, and Pure Yang Tianzuan of the Day and Everyday Sect, he had an impression of the others. He had seen them more than 10 years ago. Zhong Pingliang said the word I 3 times in a row. He was so scared that his legs went soft, and his eyes went black. He fell to the ground and foamed at the mouth. He fainted from fear. Lin Dongfang was stunned. He had never seen the little friend in front of him, but this person fainted directly, which made Lin Dongfang very puzzled. Let's go out and talk. Lin Dongfang didn't want to expose his identity in the village. This was not in line with his purpose of living in seclusion, so he didn't wait for the others to speak and took the lead to go out of the grocery store. The blood-cloth ancestor, the yellow spring ancestor, and the Ensign ancestor followed him out of the grocery store. The Mad Bull ancestor looked at Zhong Pingliang, who fainted on the ground, but he wouldn't laugh at him. After all, the big brother, the Mad Dragon ancestor, died under this person's fist. It was inevitable that he would be scared when he saw the person who sent him to heaven again. Picking up Zhong Pingliang, the Mad Dragon ancestor took the lead to step out of the grocery store. As for the Pure Yang Tianzuan, although he had never talked to Lin Dongfang and had dealings with him, he had seen this person's appearance and ruthlessness from a distance, so he was also scared at this time. Seeing the Mad Bull ancestor go out, he quickly followed. The rest, Dongfang Badeo and the elder of the Black Horse Gang in seclusion, also followed out of the grocery store. However, the president of the Black Horse Gang, Qian Boguang, was very inexplicable at the moment. What was wrong with these people? Why didn't they speak when they saw such an old farmer from the mountains? Could it be that this old farmer was a master? However, even if this old farmer was also a master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, there was no need to be so afraid, right? Including this old farmer, the Blood-Cloth Underworld sect only had 3 masters at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, plus 1 master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage. On his side, there were 4 masters at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, plus 1 master at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage. The advantage was still very obvious. However, since everyone had left, Qian Boguang was the last to leave the grocery store with his doubts. Only Widow Wang, who had sold a bottle of soy sauce at a sky-high price, was left behind. She looked at the group of people who had left in confusion. Just now, the Mad Bull ancestor bought a bottle of soy sauce and directly gave 100 yuan, which made Widow Wang stunned for a long time. When she came back to her senses, these people had already left. Widow Wang felt that this was a TV show. What kind of sect? What kind of sect? Was this a martial arts film? After all, these things were too far away from a rural woman like her. She never thought that these things were real, so she just threw them to the back of her mind. In her opinion, Old Lin was probably also a guest actor. Otherwise, how could these people be stunned with just a few words and not dare to speak? This must have been planned in advance in the script. Otherwise, how could a village doctor have such great ability? Thinking of the bottle of soy sauce she sold, she wondered if there would be a chance for her to appear on TV. If there were really scenes of her on TV, then she would be famous. Thinking of this, Widow Wang immediately became proud. She hummed a little tune and kept the 100 yuan. Of course, she was really ignorant. There was not even a cameraman here, so how could it be a TV show? But she had no experience, so how would she know these things? Therefore, she planned to see Old Lin again and ask him when the TV show would be aired. Lin Dongfang took the lead and walked in front. His pace was very fast. Although he was not a cultivator, his speed was not slow. Soon, he arrived at the West Star Mountain, not far from the spiritual spring water. Lin Dongfang came here with a plan. After all, there were so many people, and with his current stamina, he couldn't take them all down. At most, he could take down 2 or 3, but after that, he would have to drink the fountain water to replenish himself. Otherwise, his body would be abnormally weak like Air Gooden. At that time, his weakness would be exposed. So this fountain water was used to save his life. Since there was no one else here, Lin Dongfang decided to be frank. He looked at the people behind him and said, "The 3 ancestors of the blood-clothed underworld sect are my servants. What they do is also tacitly approved by me. If you have any opinions, you can tell me." At this time, Pin Liang had finally woken up after the long journey of Master Kuangyo, but after hearing Lin Dongfang's words, he almost fainted again. He quickly said, "No objections, no objections. How could we have any objections? Why didn't you say so earlier? Bloody Shirt, Yellow Spring, Sun, you're all Mr. Dongfang's servants. Then, can you take me as a servant too?" A follower is fine too. I don't have any follower plans yet." Lin Dongfang looked at Pin Liang, his face getting weirder and weirder. Just who was this person? Where did he come from? Pin Liang's words echoed in the ears of most of the people present. It was no wonder that these people had witnessed Lin Dongfang's power in the past, but there were a few who didn't know who Lin Dongfang was. This was the leader of the Black Horse Gang, Qian Buguang. Back then, he wasn't the leader of the Black Horse Gang yet. He was just a normal elder on a mission outside, so he wasn't afraid of Lin Dongfang at all. Pin Liang might be scared shitless and wanted to be Lin Dongfang's servant, but in Qian Buguang's eyes, Pin Liang was just a strategist, a normal Earth class. It wasn't surprising that he was a coward. What's wrong with you guys? Just who is this old thing? Didn't we agree to kill the gloomy elder together now? Qian Buguang started panicking when he saw that everyone wasn't moving. Chapter 3277. He naturally didn't dare to act rashly in front of Lin Dongfang. Didn't he see how scared his senior brother was? Elder Kuangyo actually understood Pin Liang's situation. He had died once in the past, and he didn't want to die again. With his current strength, he wouldn't be able to preserve his soul with a secret technique again. He would probably die for real. Little Qian, this senior Dongfang, is a master. Don't be rash. The elder, who hadn't said a word along the way, finally spoke. But the moment he opened his mouth, he scolded Qian Buguang. This little Qian made Qian Buguang a little angry. If it was in the past, it would have been fine. But now, everyone was a peak late phase heaven class master. What right did he have to take advantage of his seniority, especially in front of outsiders? How could he, the leader, endure this? So, Qian Buguang snorted coldly without thinking. "What's wrong with you guys? I don't believe that even if the opponent is a peak late phase heaven class master, we don't have to be so cowardly, right? If you guys don't make a move, wait for me to kill this old man first." In Qian Buguang's opinion, no matter how powerful Lin Dongfang was, he couldn't exceed peak late phase heaven class master, because this was already in existence like an atomic bomb. Heavenly Tao masters couldn't exist before the Heavenly Island project started, so even if he couldn't beat him, it would at most be a draw. Moreover, the Black Horse Gang was also good at fighting. Unlike those peak late phase heaven class masters who didn't have much combat experience, Qian Buguang improved his strength through fighting. So, he believed that if he fought against an expert of the same level, he could gain the upper hand and not lose. Thinking of this, Qian Buguang sneered and said, "Elder in seclusion, it's fine if you're a coward. Not everyone is as cowardly as you. What's senior's back? I'll kill him now." As he spoke, Qian Buguang rushed forward. From his point of view, since Lin Dongfang was an obstacle to killing Elder Sun, then he would first kill this person in front of him or injure him. That would be enough. Of course, the main purpose was to establish his authority. In the Black Horse Gang, the elder in seclusion didn't even put him in his eyes. He wanted to prove that he was stronger than the elder in seclusion. Others didn't dare to make a move, but he, Qian Boguang, dared. Little Qian, come back. The seclusion elder was shocked. He didn't expect Qian Boguang to be so blind. In this kind of situation, he still dared to find trouble with Lin Dongfang. Wasn't he looking for death? Isn't it to show that you're capable? Do you think that all the experts here are cowards? If it wasn't for the fact that they were no match for him, who would admit defeat? Everyone here was a top-notch expert, and they wouldn't easily admit defeat. But today, they were acting strangely. Wasn't this worth pondering? Even if you haven't seen Lin Dongfang, you should be able to see the situation clearly, right? However, it would have been better if the seclusion elder hadn't called him that. Now that he called him that, it was the opposite of what he wanted. A wave of anger and humiliation surged from his ribs to his brain. You still call me little money? Who is small? I'm also an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven class. Qian Boguang was incomparably angry. Because of this, he was even more eager to prove his ability. He shouted loudly and continued to attack Lin Dongfang. Not only did he not stop, but he also took out his heaven-ranked godly weapon from his waist. It was a silver snake soft sword. This kind of weapon was easy to carry and was also very useful for killing people. This was what the Black Horse Gang did. Even if Qian Boguang's godly weapon hadn't killed an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven class, it had killed an expert at the peak of the late stage of heaven class. The seclusion elder was scared, out of his wits. Did this Qian Boguang not want to live? Even if he didn't want to live, he didn't want to implicate the Black Horse Gang. The seclusion elder wanted to stop him, but he didn't have the strength to do so. First, both of them were experts at the peak of the late stage of heaven class. Second, if he caused Lin Dongfang to misunderstand and kill him as well, what would he do? So while he was hesitating, Qian Boguang was already close to Lin Dongfang. He was powerless to reverse the situation. Swoosh, a sharp whistle sounded. Qian Boguang attacked. The silver snake's soft sword in his hand was like a poisonous snake, slashing towards Lin Dongfang's neck, taking someone's head as soon as he attacked. This was the style of the Black Horse Gang. They didn't show mercy. They didn't attack. However, what made everyone suspicious was that Lin Dongfang stood there without dodging. It was as if he didn't notice that the silver snake's soft sword was about to take his life. Could it be that Lin Dongfang was scared silly? As soon as this thought came out, everyone rejected it. If the person in front of them was the person from back then he wouldn't be scared silly by such a small scene. The only possibility was that Lin Dongfang didn't put Qian Boguang in his eyes at all. Of course, the seclusion elder was scared, and so were Zhong Pingliang and the others. Zhong Pingliang cursed in his heart. Qian Boguang, this idiot, was he trying to kill everyone? Didn't he know that they looked like they were on the same side? Kacha! Just when everyone had their own thoughts, the silver snake's soft sword made contact with Lin Dongfang's neck, making a crisp sound. What? Everyone couldn't believe it. Lin Dongfang didn't dodge and let the silver snake's soft sword cut his neck? Wasn't he looking for death? Even if he was a heavenly Tao master, he couldn't be invincible, could he? The silver snake's soft sword, a heavenly class divine weapon, was a precious weapon that could cut through iron like mud. Wasn't he going to lose his head? Especially that kacha sound. Everyone thought that Lin Dongfang's head had already fallen to the ground, but what made everyone's jaws drop was that the kacha sound wasn't Lin Dongfang's neck being cut off, but Qian Boguang's silver serpent flexible sword was broken. Boom dash! Just when everyone was shocked, Lin Dongfang finally punched. It was just a punch. A simple punch, but it hit Qian Boguang's chest, making a loud sound. As for Qian Boguang, his entire body was sent flying backwards. There was a clear, large hole in his chest. demonstrating the unimaginable power that Lin Dongfang's seemingly ordinary punch had brought about. Qian Buguang's eyes rolled back when he was in the air. When his body landed heavily on the ground far away, he couldn't be more dead. Absolute silence. Although everyone was mentally prepared for this sudden turn of events, they were still deeply shocked, once again. Especially Zhong Pingliang, who opened his mouth wide and panted heavily, his whole body shaking, because this was how he died back then. Chapter 3278, Blood Cloak Ancestor, Yellow Spring Ancestor, and Sinister Ancestor. The three ancestors of Yellow Spring sect were shocked as well, but they were the most excited. As expected, Lin Dongfang was as powerful as before, killing a peak late phase Sky class master with one punch. So the power of the young master, Lin Yi, was inherited from this place. That's amazing. That's amazing. Pingliang's fear was replaced by deep admiration, a reverence that came from the bottom of his heart. He felt that he would never be able to reach such heights in his life. Plus, in the everyday sect, Mad Dragon Ancestor's second disciple, Mad Leopard Ancestor, didn't feel ashamed of being a disciple of the Killer Kong duo, but was proud of it instead, making many sects envious. Now, Pingliang was envious of Blood Cloak Underworld sect. Fuck, no wonder they were so arrogant, daring to kill anyone. They had a strong backing. Pingliang seized the opportunity and cheered loudly. Senior Dongfang, does your family know you're so arrogant? No. Lin Dongfang shook his head. Pingliang had praised Lin Dongfang thoughtlessly, thinking that Lin Dongfang was very, very strong. He hadn't expected Lin Dongfang to respond to him. He paused for a moment, then grew excited. Haha, I understand. Senior Dongfang, how about you take us in as your followers as well? Just like Blood Cloak Underworld sect, back then, in my sect, Mad Leopard Ancestor was your disciple, we can be considered quite close. We'll see. Lin Dongfang waved his hand, not used to Pingliang's enthusiasm. Little friend, what's your name? Have we met before? Oh, Senior Dongfang, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Pingliang, and I'm currently the strategist of an everyday sect. My words represent the everyday sect. Am I right? Mad Bull Ancestor? Pingliang said as he looked at Mad Bull Ancestor. Yes, Mr. Zhong is one of the decision makers of our an everyday sect. Kwangyo nodded. Pingliang was only an Earth class, but he was still his big brother. In the past, their eldest senior brother's awe and care for them were still vivid in their minds. Patriarch Kwangyo and Patriarch Kwanglong's relationship was actually very deep. Don't look down on the fact that the everyday sect was a demonic sect, but the relationship between them was even more important than some large sects and clans. This was also the reason why Heavenly Venerables Pure Yang and Pure Yin had such a good relationship. Zhong Pingliang? Lin Dongfang felt that the name was familiar. He thought about it and was slightly surprised. Wasn't this Kid Yi's enemy? Why did he want to be his little brother? It was really a little strange. Yes, Senior Dongfang can just call me Yangzi. Pingliang said quickly, All right, we'll talk about other things later. Who else wants to settle the score with me? Lin Dongfang looked at the others. How is that possible? The retreat elder was surprisingly talkative. Senior Dongfang, although Qian Buguang is the president of our Black Horse Gang, his actions represent himself and have nothing to do with me. Now that he is dead, I am the decision-maker of the Black Horse Gang. My intention is similar to this Mr. Zhong Pingliang. You see, one sheep needs to be driven. 2 sheep also need to be led. Why don't you also accept us as your little brothers? Now that we are out here, we don't feel at ease without a backer, and we don't have the courage to go out. What about you? Lin Dongfang did not respond to the retreat elder, but turned to look at Dongfang Badeo. Although Dongfang Badeo was a little dissatisfied in his heart, he did not dare to say anything at the moment. However, he would never put down his face to be a little brother. After all, apart from the elders of the Dongfang family who died, his grandson, Dongfang Buliu, died in the hands of the disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect. Asking him to be with the Everyday and Everyday sect, he could not do such a thing. As for why the Everyday and Everyday sect wanted to be Lin Dongfang's little brother together with the blood-clothed underworld sect after the death of Master Purine, perhaps it was because Master Purine had no blood relationship with them after all. Moreover, the decision-maker of the Everyday and Everyday sect was Zhong Pinliang, not Master Pure Yang. In the sect, the master was the most important. Even if the relationship between the brothers was good, they could betray for the master. This was the rule in the sect, and Master Pure Yang must abide by it. The grievances between the Dongfang family and the blood-clothed underworld sect end here. Thank you, Senior Dongfang, for not killing me. I will leave first. Dongfang Badeo held his fist and said slowly. Dongfang Badeo's words made Zhong Pinliang frown. What? You mean you have nothing to do with the blood-clothed underworld sect, but you still have a grudge against Zhang Naipeo of our Everyday and Everyday sect. Old thing, whatever you want, you can go and die. Now, our Everyday and Everyday sect is not afraid of you. When we recognize Lin Dongfang as our boss, we are even less afraid of you, and we can kill you at any time. But at this moment, Zhong Pinliang still said in a strange tone, you really won't die if you don't seek death. Some people just want to court death. After listening to Zhong Pinliang's words, Dongfang Badeo was a little annoyed, but in front of Lin Dongfang he did not dare to act rashly and could only snort coldly. Snort? What snort? I say, Qian Buguang, that idiot, we all want to recognize the boss, but he doesn't. Isn't he seeking death? Zhong Pinliang's words were insinuating. After all, Dongfang Badeo did not have the intention of recognizing the boss. Zhong Pinliang was scolding the locust. Dongfang Badeo was angry, but thinking of his grandson who died, he must avenge this hatred. Well, if there is nothing else, please go back. Lin Dongfang could feel his physical strength. If he killed another one, he would definitely show signs of weakness. If it was seen by others, it would not be good, not to mention that Dongfang Badeo would not let him kill. So he continued, I am now in a state of seclusion. I hope you keep my news a secret. Otherwise, Lin Dongfang did not say it, but the people present all shuddered at the same time. Perhaps Lin Dongfang's otherwise would be the end of Qian Buguang? Don't worry, boss. We will keep it a secret. Zhong Pinliang was the first to respond to the call. I have said that I have no intention of accepting a younger brother, Lin Dongfang said coldly, but I have a successor. If there is a chance in the future, I will introduce you, and you will be his younger brother. Chapter 3279. For Zhong Pinliang's address, Lin Dongfang was too lazy to argue. He waved his hand and motioned for everyone to leave. Seeing that Lin Dongfang let them go, everyone hurriedly left West Star Mountain Village, leaving only the Blood Cloak ancestor, the Yellow Spring ancestor, and the Yinsen ancestor. I'm a little thirsty. I'm going to drink some water. You guys drink some too? Lin Dongfang casually walked to the spirit spring, then picked up a bowl of water with his hand and sent it directly into his mouth. We won't drink. The three ancestors just drank wine, and they were not thirsty at all. Besides, how could they drink the spring water found casually in the mountains? Although they felt that Lin Dongfang could not harm them, it was not good to drink something bad. Lin Dongfang did not insist, drank the water casually, and prepared to go down the mountain. Let's go back and drink 2 more cups. Okay. The 3 ancestors quickly nodded and said yes. The retreat elder of the Black Horse Club took Qian Buguang's body, said goodbye to Ancestor Kuangyo, Dongfang Badeo, and others, and left in a hurry. At this moment, he had no thoughts of revenge. He regretted that the Black Horse Club provoked this pool of muddy water. 2 masters of the peak of the late stage of heaven class died, and the Black Horse Club suddenly changed from a top ancient sect to a mid-range ancient sect. But who could be blamed for this? Before, the mission was not good. When you go out on a mission, you must have the awareness of death. It is impossible for everyone to be killed by you. You may also be killed by others. And Qian Boguang was completely looking for death. He called him several times, but he still couldn't see the situation clearly. Who could be blamed for this? Although the retreat elder was in retreat all year round, this time he had to come out to take charge of the Black Horse Club. At least until the next successor was cultivated, he could continue to retreat. And Dongfang Badao, after the retreat elder left, looked at the people of the day, and everyday sect shook his head and quickly left. Although he had a lot of hatred in his heart, he also knew that this was not the time, and he could not directly fall out with ancestor Kuangyo and others. Idiot. Zhong Pingliang looked at the back of Dongfang Badao as he left, spat, and scolded. Such a good opportunity to find a backer, and you don't know how to grasp it. You are really blinded by hatred. I've already been killed once, but I didn't have such a huge grudge. Eldest senior brother. This kind of person isn't worth getting angry at. Just like you said, he's courting death. If he didn't, he wouldn't have died. Ancestral Master Mad Bull nodded in agreement. He felt that after his eldest senior brother was reborn, his words were very trendy and reasonable. Lord Master, Ancestor Wild Bull, what should we do now? Heavenly Lord Pure Yang asked carefully. Although Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang was already a peak late-stage heaven rank expert, he was still very careful in front of the 2 ancestral masters and never dared to overstep. Let's return to the sect. Pin Liang waved his hand. Then what about Lin Yi's side? Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang asked carefully. We'll talk about it later. Let's wait and see what Blood Cloak Underworld sect and Lin Yi's employment rules are like. If Blood Cloak Underworld sect wants to interfere, then there's nothing we can do, Pin Liang said, feeling a headache coming on. You're right, Lord Master. Heavenly Venerate Pure Yang nodded. Let's put it aside for now. The vengeance meeting that alarmed the entire ancient level actually ended anticlimactically. All the parties involved remained silent and didn't mention the result of the vengeance. However, it wasn't hard to see that the members of the vengeance meeting didn't achieve their desired goal from how the Blood Cloak Underworld sect was unscathed. However, as for what happened and what the real result was, the parties involved were all tight-lipped. Outsiders had no way of knowing. They could only guess that Blood Cloak Underworld sect wasn't a pushover. They wouldn't allow others to change their ways. In this way, Blood Cloak Underworld sect's reputation in the ancient level also rose. At least in the next few years, Blood Cloak Underworld sect had distanced itself from Black Horse Gang. When cultivators hired assassins, the first person they thought of was Blood Cloak Underworld sect and not Black Horse Gang. Of course, it was said that the Black Horse Society had also entered a period of recuperation. Apart from some small missions, they had also stopped accepting large missions. Missions involving Earth rank and above would all be directly rejected, even if the target was at the initial stage of heaven rank. This was enough to show the low profile of Black Horse Gang. Although everyone still didn't know what happened, there were no walls in the world that didn't have ears. The death of Black Horse Gang's president, Qian Puguang, was still spread in the ancient level. The specific cause of death was unknown. Anyway, it must be related to this vengeance plan. As a result, these people looked at Blood Cloak Underworld sect differently. Blood Cloak Underworld sect actually killed Qian Puguang? For a time, Blood Cloak Underworld sect became famous. However, the key point was that even Feng Tianhu, another member of the vengeance meeting, didn't know. No one dared to tell him the truth. No one dared to mention Lin Dongfang's matter. Hanging up the phone with Dongfang Badao, Feng Tianhu frowned. Before this, he had already contacted the Everyday and Everyday Sect and Black Horse Gang, but both did not reply to him. Instead, they hung up the phone very coldly. As for Dongfang Badeo, although he wasn't cold, he definitely didn't have a good temper. He didn't mention anything about the matter at that time. He just told Feng Tianhu to calm down and not think about finding trouble with Blood Cloak Underworld Sect. If you don't want to find trouble, then don't. Anyway, I have no grievances with Blood Cloak Underworld Sect. Feng Tianhu snorted coldly. His main purpose now was to rise. What medical school, Underworld Sect, what Lin Yi, they had nothing to do with him. So, he shook his head and began to study the next plan against Feng Tianlin and Feng Shipian. So many major events happened in the cultivation world. Lin Yi, who was far away abroad, also received a call from Gu Xian. Gu Xian, how is it? Is there any news over there? Lin Yi quickly picked up the phone and asked, Boss, now there is a rumor in the ancient world that you don't have the ability to kill experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage and Great Perfection. You are overseas and being chased by the Overseas Cultivators Association. Gu Xian said anxiously. Well, what else? Gu Xian's news was not unexpected to Lin Yi. Lin Yi had already guessed what Gu Xian said. After all, after Cheng Yi sent back the news, Lin Yi made this plan. Moreover, it was absolutely impossible for the Overseas Cultivators Association to keep secrets for Lin Yi. Chapter 3280. Gu Xian told the news to Lin Yi in detail. By the way, they found out that the Heaven Stage experts were killed by the Blood Underworld Sect. Oh! Lin Yi could not help but frown. These people actually found out that it was the Blood Underworld Sect. To be honest, Lin Yi felt a little sorry for the 3 ancestors of the Blood Underworld Sect. Although the people were killed by these 3, he also gained some benefits. So, Lin Yi quickly asked, then did they go to the Blood Underworld Sect? They should have gone, but there was no result. The people of the Blood Underworld Sect were unharmed, but the president of the Black Horse Gang, Qian Puguang, died. Of course, I can't find out how he died. I only know that he died. Gu Xian said, the current situation is that the members of the Vengeance Assembly are all silent. I don't know what agreement they reached with the Blood Underworld Sect in secret, but it turned into the current situation. Oh, that's really strange. Lin Yi frowned. Gu Xian, an ancient expert, did not know the inside story. Lin Yi did not need to rack his brains to think about it. There must be something unknown in it, but with Lin Yi's current level, he might not be able to reach it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi said, then other than that, is there any news of them coming to me? Not for the time being. I don't know what the people of the Blood Underworld Sect said to them, but they all stopped. Gu Xian said, there is no news of any progress at the moment. Okay, I got it. Help me pay attention to the movements of these people. If they want to find me, tell me immediately, Lin Yi said after pondering for a moment. Although the situation was very strange, Lin Yi still decided to wait for the situation to stabilize before going back. For the time being, it was better to rest here and observe. No problem, boss, Gu Xian quickly said. After hanging up, Lin Yi wasn't in a good mood, but he didn't show it in front of Yang Qiqi and Jiao. After all, it had been so many years since he left Island X, and it was rare for Lin Yi to come back. He just wanted to have fun with the two. At least, these few days on the island, Lin Yi found the feeling of his childhood. Su Shihan and Cheng Yi were also very fond of the island's scenery. However, when they saw the teams of assassins undergoing strict training, they could guess how cruel and boring Lin Yi's childhood was. Brother Lin Yi, I want to eat mud fish. Can you help us catch some fish today? Yang Qiqi missed the mud fish of her childhood. Of course, she didn't know whether it was because of her childhood or the life and death experience during the Heavenly Elixir Sect trial. It was also during the Heavenly Elixir Sect trial that Yang Qiqi and Lin Yi were able to recognize each other. This mudfish could be said to be a childhood memory, and it could also be said to be the matchmaker for the two. Therefore, Yang Chi-Chi had special feelings for it. Okay, I'll go now. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. This mudfish was also very particular in making it. It must be made with yellow mud from the river. Although the fish supplied on Island X could be used to make it, there was no mud, and the taste of wild fish and raised fish was also different. It's more dangerous over there. You guys don't need to go. I'll go alone. Linny said to everyone. Although with Yang Chi-Chi and Cheng Yi's skills, there was still Jiao and Su Shirhan. Lin Yi couldn't let them stay here, so he went alone. Okay, Brother Linny, be careful, Yang Chi-Chi said. She was also the owner of Island X, so naturally she couldn't ignore the guests just because she wanted to go catch fish with Lin Yi. Lin Yi nodded and quickly walked in the direction of the jungle of the back island. On the way, Linny was filled with emotions. The familiar path, the familiar environment. However, he hadn't been back here for more than 10 years. Now, when Linny walked this road, it was still as familiar as when he was a child. Coming to the river with ease, Lin Yi plunged into the river and began to catch fish. However, after Lin Yi caught a fish, he suddenly realized that he forgot to bring a bucket. It was okay to catch 1 or 2 fish, and he could carry it back directly. But there were so many people, and everyone's appetite was good. At least 10 or 20 fish had to be killed. Moreover, this fish was not big. How was Linny going to take it back? Going back to get the bucket, Lin Yi didn't want to bother too much. Suddenly, Linny had an idea. Didn't he have the space of the jade pendant? How good would it be to put the fish directly in it? Lin Yi had put food in the jade space before, but the food was still in the jade space. In other words, the state of the food was still the moment it was cooked. When he took it out, it was still hot and fresh. So, Linny planned to put the live fish in the jade space. This way, if he brought it back, it would still be fresh. With that thought, Linny wanted to put the fish in his hand into the jade space, but what surprised Lin Yi was that the fish was still in Lin Yi's hand. It didn't enter the jade space. This was the first time this had happened. Could it be that the jade space wasn't working? Lin Yi paused and subconsciously wanted to put the fish in his hand into the jade space again, but again, it failed. There was no fish in the jade space, and the fish in Lin Yi's hand didn't disappear. It's really strange. Lin Yi frowned and tried to use his mind to take out a spirit beast chi inner pellet from the jade space. This chi inner pellet was successfully taken out from the jade space. Lin Yi moved his mind again, and the chi inner pellet returned to the jade space again. In this way, it was certain that the jade space didn't fail, but something went wrong. Could it be that the thing that was put in was different? Jiao Lao, why can't I put my fish in the jade space? Lin Yi asked curiously. A living thing? Of course not, Elder Jiao said with a straight face. Living thing? Aren't you and I alive? Lin Yi was slightly stunned and asked, You and I are not in a normal state. Your spirit entered the jade space, and I'm almost the same. It's not a real body. Jiao Lao said, There is no oxygen here. How can a living thing survive in here? So that's the case. Can I only put the fish in the jade space after it's dead? Lin Yi thought about it and asked. Chapter 30, 281. Temporarily? Does that mean I can put living things in here in the future? Lin Yi heard something special in Jiao Lao's tone. I remember after the jade space was upgraded. It had such a function, but your level is not high enough, the stone door is not open, and my memory is not fully recovered, so I can only say this much. Jiao Lao said, Oh, that is to say, even if I continue to refine the jade space, I will not be able to achieve this function? Lin Yi thought for a while and asked, Yes, if you continue to refine the jade space, you will only be able to expand the capacity of the jade space, but you will not be able to upgrade its function, Jiao Yazi said with certainty this time. All right. These few days, Lin Yi had planned to use the blue crystal and the remaining pure yellow jade and colored steel to refine the jade space. But now, it seemed that refining it would only expand the storage capacity of the jade space and not change its function. This made Lin Yi a little disappointed, so he temporarily gave up the idea of refining it. Forget it. Then I will use the remaining materials to refine the profound chi necklace. These few days, Lin Yi couldn't decide whether to continue refining the jade space or the profound chi necklace. Refining the jade space, Lin Yi was 90% sure. With his previous experience, he could make it 100% successful, but the profound chi necklace was different. Although the profound chi necklace could be made by a first-level yellow-class blacksmith, in Lin Yi's opinion, since the lowest-level blacksmith was the yellow-class blacksmith, since he could refine the jade space, he should be a yellow-class blacksmith. In theory, he could refine the profound chi necklace. Of course, this was just theory crafting. In reality, unexpected things could happen, and it wasn't something Lin Yi could control. There was a certain amount of risk involved, and if the materials were wasted, the necklace wouldn't be completed. Lin Yi's trip to the ocean would be a complete waste, and it wouldn't be worth it. But now, it seemed that it was better to refine the profound chi necklace. The jade space wasn't big, but it was enough for Lin Yi. Lin Yi couldn't carry everything around with him, and there was no need for that. Since the jade space couldn't hold live fish, Lin Yi had no choice but to take off his shirt and use it as a net in the water. He put all the fish into it and hung it by the river. After that, he went back to fishing, catching 20 fish in one breath. Only then did he carry his dripping shirt back to the lawn where he was chatting with Chi-Chi and the others. Lin Yi bro, you're using your shirt to hold fish? Young Chi-Chi was a little surprised. Although Lin Yi's bare upper body made her blush a little, the two had lived together since young, and she was used to it. Su Shirhan and Chung Yi, on the other hand, lived in Lin Yi's villa. It was inevitable that Lin Yi would wear a little less, but he had never worn so little. The two were a little shy, but because they liked Lin Yi, they didn't scream. Little Nine, on the other hand, looked at Lin Yi's muscles with interest. Lin Yi bro, I didn't think that your body is so good now. Sigh, I'm afraid that my body is the worst here. Little Nine's words made Lin Yi pause. But looking at Little Nine's skinny body, Lin Yi felt pain in his heart. Yes, all these years he had been avoiding Little Nine, but he had neglected her feelings. Little Nine was different from normal people. She could only sit in a wheelchair, and she didn't exercise. Her body was very thin, and even after so many years, she was still like a little girl. Her chest and whatnot were very developed. Little Nine, you are... Lin Yi looked at Su Shirhan and Chung Yi, but he didn't hide it. These two, Lin Yi could trust them. You're an inheritor. When you become a practitioner, not only will your body be very good, but your strength will also be higher than mine. Yes, fortunately, I have this opportunity. Little Nine smiled. Going to the Yellow Earth High sect was her opportunity, but it was also a challenge. The future had become uncertain. Not long after, I will leave. My brother, Tu Ba Wang, will come to pick me up. Lin Yi bro, will you send me off? And I will. Lin Yi nodded without hesitation. Although there were a lot of troubles on Lin Yi's body, and the balance between him and the ancient sex could be broken at any time. But Lin Yi also knew that this farewell, he didn't know when he could see Little Nine again. Lin Yi must send her off. I'm just saying, Lin Yi bro, you don't have to send me off. I know it's not easy for you to come overseas. The Overseas Cultivators Association is currently your enemy. Little Nine shook her head and didn't wait for Lin Yi to speak before saying, Okay, let's make some mud fish. Lin Yi was silent for a moment, but he didn't say anything, but he had already made up his mind. Now, although Lin Yi's strength was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven rank, he could truly kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert. When Lin Yi was At the early phase of the heaven rank, although he couldn't instantly kill Dongfang Jian, he could still get rid of him when he was injured. Now that Lin Yi was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven rank, he could naturally kill a peak mid-heaven rank expert. As for whether he could kill a peak late heaven rank expert, it was still unknown. At present, Lin Yi had only fought with He Qianzu, a peak late heaven rank expert. He could only injure him, but he couldn't kill him. But he hadn't fought a peak late heaven rank expert yet. However, Lin Yi believed that if the Essence Necklace's records were true, he would be able to increase his strength by a whole level after wearing the Essence Necklace. Whether it was his offensive or defensive abilities, they would all increase correspondingly. In other words, after wearing the Essence Necklace, Lin Yi would be equivalent to a peak mid-heaven rank expert. And at that time, it would be very easy for Lin Yi to instantly kill a peak late heaven rank expert. This way, Lin Yi's strength had increased yet again, and he had more cards up his sleeves. He wouldn't be caught off guard when he returned. Of course, facing a Sky class late phase peak, Lin Yi might not be able to win, but he would be able to heavily injure them if he caught them off guard. He Qianzu wouldn't be lightly injured. Thus, this Essence Necklace seemed to be an important thing. Chapter 30-82. Secondly, he needed to get himself to Sky class mid-phase as soon as possible. If he was Sky class mid-phase, then the necklace would be like adding wings to a tiger. With that in mind, Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi. "Xiao Qi, can you get a Qi gathering pill?" "Qi gathering pill." Chi-Chi paused. "Lin Yi bro, you need it? But doesn't it say that you won't be able to level up on your own after eating it?" Yang Chi-Chi wasn't a spiritual practitioner, but she had some basic knowledge. "Haha, I'm a little special. I can level up after eating it." Lin Yi didn't hide it. It wasn't a secret. After all, everyone around Lin Yi knew about it. "Xiao Qi, doesn't the association provide free pills to their members? Do you have the right to get one?" Lin Yi turned his attention to the association. If Tang Yuqi could get a Qi gathering pill from the association, then Chi-Chi should be able to as well, right? As long as you're a member of the association, you have the right to get one. As long as your strength reaches the corresponding level, you can apply for it. Chi-Chi explained, "But I'm a physical practitioner. There's no way I can get a Qi gathering pill." "That's fine. You can practice both internal and external." Lin Yi said, "If your spiritual strength reaches Earth class late phase peak, then would you be able to get a Qi gathering pill?" "That's for sure," Chi-Chi said with certainty. "But after receiving it, if you successfully break through to Sky class, you'll have to become an elder of the association. It's impossible for you to leave the association like Tang Yuqi did. There are pros and cons to this, too. It's free, but it's still like selling your body." Chi-Chi said with certainty. "What if you don't succeed?" Lin Yi asked. After all, a Qi gathering pill could allow an Earth class late phase peak to break through to Sky class early phase, but it wasn't 100% success. There was a chance of failure, just a small one. If you don't succeed, you can apply for it again half a year later, but that's your last chance. Chi-Chi said, "There have been failures in the association, but they all succeeded the second time." "I see. Then can you help me apply for a Qi gathering pill?" Lin Yi was a little excited after hearing Chi-Chi's words. This was what he wanted. It wasn't realistic for Lin Yi to rely on Kong Ming Ming pill, especially now that Lin Yi's true strength was exposed. A snobbish person like Kong Ming Ming wouldn't care about him at all, so Lin Yi had to think on his own. "But it sounds easy, but it's very difficult. My father left me as spiritual practitioner's arts, but I still put all my effort into it. I don't have any foundation for it at all." Chi-Chi smiled bitterly. "Even if I start training now, I don't know when I'll be able to reach Earth class late phase peak. Lin Yi bro, I'm afraid I won't be able to help you with this." "Ha, don't worry, we can start now." Lin Yi smiled. "Do you remember the spiritual practitioner's arts? Can you recite it? If you can, we can start now." Now, what do you mean, train here? Chi-Chi's eyes were wide, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. Yes, now, but I'll be the one helping you. Lin Yi said, I can help other people level up quickly. It's just that we parted in a hurry last time, so I didn't get the chance to help you. This is a good chance. You'll help me level up? Chi-Chi was even more shocked. Lin Yi, bro, you're saying that you can help me level up to Earth class late phase peak. That's right. That's it. Lin Yi nodded. All you need to do is practice the arts. Leave the rest to me. Really? Chi-Chi was a little surprised, but she still said, but there's no rush. If I become an Earth class late phase peak right now, even the association would start suspecting me. I need to take it step by step. So it's best for me to level up to Earth class early phase now. I'll show up at the association and let them prepare themselves. You're right. Lin Yi nodded solemnly. He'd only considered the possibility of getting a chi-gathering pill from the association, but he didn't consider the possibility of the association suspecting Chi-Chi. Of course, if Chi-Chi could level up step by step, that was something the association would be happy to see as well. After all, one more master meant one more power. They wouldn't have gone to all that trouble to keep Tang Yuqi around. And so, as long as he did it right, getting 2 chi-gathering pills wasn't impossible. But the second pill had to be given to Chi-Chi herself, or the association would definitely suspect something. Chi-Chi had leveled up so quickly before, and that was enough to show that she was quite talented. If she didn't level up after 1 or 2, then there would be a problem. Lin Yi wouldn't need to be afraid of the association if he took 2 chi-gathering pills, but Lin Yi couldn't stay overseas for long. Could he? Chi-Chi's base was overseas, too, and Lin Yi didn't want to cause trouble for her. Then I'll raise you to Earth class early phase first. Lin Yi nodded. All right, I just need to chant the practitioner's arts, right? Chi-Chi asked. Yes, leave the rest to me. Lin Yi said. As long as he didn't forcefully compress his chi to break through, then his clothes wouldn't explode. Lin Yi didn't have to worry about Chi-Chi running around naked. Chi-Chi started chanting, and Lin Yi grabbed her wrist and started chanting as well. Under everyone's curious gaze, Lin Yi's chi flowed into Chi-Chi's body. Shirhan and Cheng Yi, on the other hand, were a bit weaker. After all, they had already witnessed Lin Yi's miraculous power back at the orphanage. However, it was still a little shocking for someone who had no spiritual training whatsoever to rise all the way to Earth class early phase. Chapter 3283. If Lin Yi could mass-produce Sky class masters, then who in the ancient world would be a match for Lin Yi? Cheng Yi was glad that she made the choice. Otherwise, she would have to follow Feng Tianhu to the end. Nothing good would come out of that, right? Little Nine was shocked as well. She and Lin Yi had been separated for so many years, but they had always kept in contact. She thought that she understood Lin Yi's situation very well, but it seemed that she didn't understand Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi had a lot of miraculous things that she didn't even know about. When did he get these miraculous abilities? Of course, the one who was the most shocked was young Chi-Chi herself. She channeled her practitioner's arts and felt that her strength was growing like a force-fed duck. From a physical practitioner without any spiritual foundation, she rose all the way to early phase of golden class, and it was still growing. Early phase of golden class, early phase of golden class, peak, all the way to early phase of Earth class. Young Chi-Chi felt like she was dreaming. In such a short period of time, she went from nothing to something. Her strength had such a huge increase. This completely overturned young Chi-Chi's understanding of practitioners, based on her previous understanding, which cultivation expert did not take one step at a time to get to where he was now. There had never been anyone who could become an Earth-class early phase master in just one afternoon without any inner strength. This was probably one of a kind, wasn't it? Everyone present, other than Su Shirhan, felt the change in Yang Chi-Chi's strength. Because Yang Chi-Chi was channeling her practitioner's arts, her strength was directly exposed. Little Nine didn't have much strength, but he'd been exposed to practicing when he was young, so he could still recognize a practitioner's aura. Cheng-Yi, on the other hand, was quite shocked as well. How did Chi-Chi become the same as her in the blink of an eye? Cheng-Yi felt the urge to cry. One had to know that it wasn't easy for her to get to where she was right now. She'd been trained by Feng Tianhu since she was young, and all she did was train and train. That was how she got to where she was today. But look at young Chi-Chi. She'd become an Earth-class early phase the moment she got close to Linny. Am I dreaming? Yang Chi-Chi's question was what everyone else wanted to ask. Haha, you can go to the association now and announce the news. As for the reason, you'll have to figure it out yourself. I don't really know much about the overseas world. Linny said to Chi-Chi, Yeah, I know. I'll just say that my family told me to keep it a secret, but I've hit a bottleneck at Earth class, so I'm here to look for some resources, Chi-Chi said, finding an excuse very quickly. After all, her family was different from other practitioners. It was reasonable for them to have this rule. The association wouldn't say much. All right, get moving then. I'll continue to help you when you get back. Lin-Yi said, Yes, I'll go tomorrow. Chi-Chi nodded. Lin-Yi was about to get up when he raised his head to see the envious Cheng-Yi beside Chi-Chi. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed that this girl wanted him to help her level up as well, but she was too embarrassed to ask. I'll help you level up to Earth class late phase peak 2. Lin-Yi had gone from being wary of Cheng-Yi to trusting her now. Lin-Yi could feel that Cheng-Yi liked him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have betrayed Feng Tianhu. After all, Feng Tianhu still had her brother's trump card. Now that Lin-Yi had revealed his true strength, Cheng-Yi couldn't put all her hopes on Lin-Yi anymore. Cheng-Yi still supported Lin-Yi. This touched Lin-Yi. At the very least, Cheng-Yi was sincere. She wasn't just trying to get on his good side. She wanted him to save her brother. Cheng-Yi froze after hearing Lin-Yi's words. Actually, back in the orphanage, Cheng-Yi had wanted Lin-Yi to help her get stronger, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Their relationship wasn't that good back then, and she didn't succeed in seducing Lin-Yi. She gave up. After all, she knew that the relationship between her and Lin-Yi wasn't as good as it seemed on the surface. Perhaps Lin-Yi was still guarding against her, but she didn't think that Lin-Yi would take the initiative to bring this matter up. Cheng-Yi, of course, didn't know that her loyalty to Lin-Yi had earned her a good impression from Lin-Yi. She thought that Lin-Yi was being nice. Really? Cheng-Yi was at a loss. She looked at Lin-Yi and couldn't believe it. Of course it's true. You're one of us now. It's reasonable for me to help you get stronger. Lin-Yi waved his hand and said, Okay, let's begin. Cheng-Yi saw that Lin-Yi was so straightforward, so she didn't hesitate anymore. She reached out her hand and handed it to Lin-Yi, and so, under everyone's numb gazes, Lin-Yi raised Cheng-Yi's strength to Earth class late phase peak. As well, at night, Lin-Yi didn't care about Chi-Chi and Cheng-Yi's excitement. He greeted everyone and went into isolation to study the essence necklace. He took out the essence necklace book from the jade space and flipped through it carefully. He'd read it once when he first started forming the forging fire. The golden class blacksmith's practitioner's arts were too hard to practice, so he'd given up on it for now. But now Lin-Yi was familiar with the jade space, and the essence necklace only required a golden class blacksmith. As far as Lin-Yi was concerned, if he could create a jade space, he should be able to create an essence necklace as well. Lin-Yi continued reading the refining method. The basic requirement for condensing is a blacksmith. Blacksmith? Lin-Yi smiled. It had been a headache for Lin-Yi when he first got the book, but now Lin-Yi could give it a try. Life really was unpredictable. Many things could be solved with the passage of time. Then he continued to read, base material required for refining a piece of high-grade jade pendant. Chapter 3284. Jiao Lao It's written here that a jade pendant is required to refine a profound chi necklace. I wonder if my jade pendant can be used for refining? Lin Yi asked. It was better to ask Jiao Yazi about this kind of thing. Lin Yi didn't dare to make a decision on his own. Of course it can. Jiao Yazi didn't play dumb this time. Instead, he said with certainty, from the refining method, a small space in the jade pendant was expanded to store the 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs. Therefore, your jade pendant won't be damaged. You can refine it without worry. Even if you don't succeed, the jade pendant won't be damaged. At most, your spiritual chi inner elixir will be destroyed. It's painful to have my spiritual chi inner elixir destroyed. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Lin Yi had spent a lot of effort to collect these 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs. Lin Yi would be very sad if they were destroyed just like that. It's better than having my jade pendant destroyed, isn't it? Jiao Lao asked with a smile. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. After preparing the 5 spiritual chi inner elixirs, pure topaz, blue crystal, and colored steel, Lin Yi took a deep breath and started to refine the profound chi necklace. Although the jade pendant wouldn't be damaged if it wasn't refined successfully, all the materials would be destroyed. Lin Yi had spent a lot of effort to collect these materials. For this blue crystal, Lin Yi almost lost his life. Therefore, it was impossible for him to be careless. After carefully reading the instructions of the profound chi necklace several times, Lin Yi carefully placed the colored steel, pure topaz, and blue crystal in a certain proportion on the ground. Then he took off the jade pendant on his neck. Before making the necklace, Lin Yi once again read the instructions on how to condense the profound chi necklace several times. Of course, the instructions were relatively simple, not much different from condensing the space inside the jade pendant, but there were a few more steps. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the experience of successfully condensing the jade pendant space in one try, so this time he could successfully condense it. The first step of condensing was exactly the same as condensing the space inside the jade pendant. Of course, what Lin Yi used was also the mantra he used to condense the space inside the jade pendant, not the mantra he used to condense the profound chi necklace. Because the mnemonic chant was too complicated, Lin Yi didn't have the confidence to learn it, nor did he want to try. Fortunately, the beginning of the condensation was very smooth. It was the same feeling as the first time Lin Yi condensed the space in the jade pendant. Lin Yi's hands kept condensing the forging fire. And from time to time, he also needed to use his hands to change the shape of the auxiliary materials and then fuse them with the jade pendant. After repeating this several times and a certain amount of time, he finally reached the most important step, which was completely different from condensing the space inside the jade pendant. Because the space needed for the 5 profound chi inner elixirs was very small, it didn't take much time and materials. Previously, when Lin Yi was at home, it took him 3 days to condense the space inside the jade pendant. But now, it only took him less than a day to enter the second step. The second step was to fuse the profound chi inner elixirs into the space inside the jade pendant. Although Lin Yi had 7 profound chi inner elixirs, 1 was given by Go Huli's lion, 2 were obtained in the Wulonghao mountain range, 1 was given by the Qian mountain sect, 1 was given by the ghost, 1 was exchanged with a heaven stage cultivator in the cultivator's market, and the last one was picked up by the Sky Thunder Pig in the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial. However, among them, the profound chi inner elixir given by the ghost was obviously very different from the other profound chi inner elixirs. Moreover, the ghost didn't let him use it, so it wasn't appropriate for Lin Yi to use it casually. As for the remaining 6, he could use them to make the profound chi necklace. However, Lin Yi only prepared 5 and kept the extra 1 first. Lin Yi was afraid that he would fail this time and lose 6 profound chi inner elixirs at once, so he kept 1 as a backup. If he succeeded, it wouldn't be too late to make another one in the future. This step was actually the most difficult one because not only did he have to put the 5 profound Qi inner elixirs into the space of the jade pendant, he had to fix them at a certain point in the space of the jade pendant, so that the 5 profound Qi inner elixirs could form a cycle of 5 elements, and each of them could be fixed at its own supporting point in the space of the jade pendant, without any deviation at all. However, in fact, Lin Yi had a great advantage. Other blacksmiths didn't have the same connection with the jade pendant as Lin Yi did. That was to say, when a blacksmith put the profound Qi inner elixir into the space of the jade pendant, it was completely based on his feeling and proficiency, whether it could be successfully fixed at the supporting point or not depended entirely on luck. If it was unsuccessful, it would be a waste of a profound Qi inner elixir. This profound Qi inner elixir, which couldn't be fixed at the supporting point, couldn't be taken out of the space of the jade pendant, and could only be discarded. However, Lin Yi was different. To Lin Yi's surprise, not only could he see the scene in the space of the jade pendant, but for the first time, Lin Yi could actually take out the profound Qi inner elixir from the space of the jade pendant after it was not fixed at the supporting point. This was also because the way to refine the small space was the same as the way to refine the space of the jade pendant. Of course, Lin Yi could also use his consciousness to control the space of the jade pendant. In this way, Lin Yi's work was much easier. If he couldn't place it properly, he could place it again. Although it was a little slow, he succeeded every time. Lin Yi simply put the remaining 6th profound Qi inner elixir on the supporting point of the fire attribute. Every time he added a profound Qi inner elixir of a spirit beast, the probability of increasing defense and attack would be higher. When Lin Yi put the profound Qi inner elixir on the supporting point of the fire attribute, it meant that when Lin Yi used the fire attribute martial arts, the probability of making the move more powerful would be higher, and the probability of defending against the fire attribute attack would also be higher. When the supporting points of the 5 elements were fixed, adding the profound Qi inner elixir on any of the supporting points would improve the ability of the corresponding attribute. This made Lin Yi very excited. Unexpectedly, all the 6 profound Qi inner elixirs were successfully integrated. 5 days were spent nervously in the refining process. Lin Yi was very nervous. He followed the instructions step by step and carried out the operation step by step. However, the heavens did not disappoint those who worked hard. Finally, on the evening of the 5th day, Lin Yi completed all the refining steps, looking at the jade pendant in front of him, which had returned to its original appearance. Lin Yi also slowly put away the forging fire. The profound Qi necklace was finally refined successfully. Chapter 30-285. Previously, it was written in the instructions that this essence Qi necklace had a 30% chance of increasing the power of defense and attack. However, after adding an essence Qi Niden, it could increase the chance of fire attribute by 50%. In the future, adding an essence Qi Niden would increase the chance by 20%, and so on. A 50% chance didn't necessarily mean that he'd be able to increase his attack and defense, but it was still much, much stronger than before, and Lin Yi was very satisfied. Lin Yi didn't bother testing the necklace. He hung it around his neck and walked out of the room. In these 5 days, no one had bothered Lin Yi, but Lin Yi was worried about Yang Qiqi the most. He didn't know how she was doing. In theory, Yang Qiqi's trip to the association shouldn't be dangerous, but who knew if he Luo would do anything after that incident with the red conch? Fortunately, when Lin Yi came out of the room, he saw Yang Qiqi, Little Nine, Su Shirhan, and Cheng Yi chatting about something. When they saw Lin Yi come out, they shut their mouths at the same time. Evidently, the topic was related to Lin Yi, but Lin Yi didn't have the mood to gossip. He let out a breath of relief when he saw that Yang Qiqi was safe. Xiao Qi, you've been to the association? How was it? Yeah, I came back 2 days ago. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was quite relaxed. The people from the association were quite surprised that I'm an Earth-class early phase practitioner, but considering the special nature of my family, they didn't think too much about it. But I could tell that the elders were quite happy about it. After all, I didn't need any training resources to get to Earth-class early phase. It wasn't easy at all. With talent like this, there's a chance for me to break through to Sky class. Lin E nodded. It seemed that there was a reason why young Chi-Chi was doing so well overseas. At least from what Lin E saw, young Chi-Chi wasn't as useless as she was when he first met her. Perhaps young Chi-Chi's level of experience was different from his. As long as they didn't suspect you. No, they didn't. After all, I didn't hide my strength from them, so they were very happy. Chi-Chi shook her head. They understand me, and they even gave me a few chi-gathering pills as training resources. Oh, it seems that the Overseas Cultivators Association is quite generous. Linny could not help but sigh. The Overseas Cultivators Association treated their members very well. If it wasn't for their overbearing style, they could have been friends. However, Hiluadu's patriarchal style was difficult to accept. The Overseas Cultivators Association isn't a sect with a deep foundation. Everyone who joins the association is like a customer of the sect. If there's no benefit, why would we gather people together? Chi-Chi said, everyone will only stay in the association if they get a taste of the sweetness. Linny couldn't help but nod after hearing that. Indeed, the Overseas Cultivators Association was more like a group of experts recruited by clans rather than a large sect that had disciples to pass on. An organization like this that was developed in a short period of time still had its flaws. Did you see Hiluadu this time? Lin E asked. No, I heard that he's in isolation. He won't be coming out for a while, but this kind of thing doesn't need the chairman to do it. The elders can make the decision. Chi-Chi said. Lin E was taken aback. He wanted to ask how Luadu was doing. After all, Linny left after setting up a trap, and he didn't know if Hiluadu would fall for it. He wanted to get some information about Hiluadu through Chi-Chi, but who would have thought that he'd be in isolation? What did that mean? Was the deal a success or a failure? What was he doing in isolation? But these were secrets that Lin E couldn't tell Chi-Chi about. He could only let it go and continue helping Chi-Chi get to Earth-class late-phase peak. In actuality, Hiluadu didn't go into isolation at all. He was heavily injured, and he was recovering in a secret room. After all, what good could come out of a fight between two Sky-class late-phase peak masters? It was either one of them die or the other survive. The best outcome would be for both of them to be heavily injured. And this was the best-case scenario. After coming back, Hiluadu laid on his sickbed. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something wasn't right. He wasn't an idiot. It was fine if he was impulsive at the time. But after thinking about it, there were a lot of suspicious points. Hiluodan thought about it again and again. There was no doubt that he had brought a suitcase of money with him, not to mention that he had been carrying the suitcase. Even if the suitcase was around him, with his current strength, it would be impossible for him to take the money from the suitcase under his nose. As for swapping, that was even more impossible. Hiluonan also carefully looked at the suitcase after he came back, and there was no doubt that it was his. There was no possibility of swapping, but how could the money just disappear into thin air? What the hell? Plus, that Songshan orphanage was something Hiluadu had never heard of in his life. He really did think that Red Conch was trying to scam him with a fake account, but after thinking about it, he realized that Red Conch wasn't crazy. If they wanted to scam money, they could just scam someone else. Those drug dealers had money, so why would they scam him? The head of the association? Even an idiot would know that he wasn't someone to mess with. And this guy was using such a stupid method to scam him. It didn't seem possible. As far as Hiluadu was concerned, the money could be scammed any way they wanted. There was no need to get it from him. Besides, this wasn't a one-time deal, and they would have to work together again in the future. It wasn't like Red Conk hadn't seen money before. While Luo Dan realized that something was wrong, the general manager also realized that something was wrong. After all, he felt that there was no need for Luo Dan to put on such a show. He brought an empty box to trade, and then entered his account to transfer the money. Wasn't this just looking for trouble? What was the point of coming to Red Conk's headquarters and doing this kind of low-level scam? Did he think that he could get the drugs? The result was a lose-lose situation, and no one got the upper hand. So the CEO felt that unless Luodu had nothing better to do, he wouldn't do such a meaningless thing. Chapter 3286. However, after asking for a long time, it didn't seem to be done by Fanny. So he thought of another very important person, Secretary Lu. However, when he called Secretary Lu over to interrogate him, he got a shocking news. Secretary Lu, during the time of the transaction between the general manager and Luan, actually fainted in the bathroom. Secretary Lu didn't think that it was a big deal. He thought that he was too tired from work and fell asleep in the bathroom. He didn't think that he was plotted against because he didn't feel anything at all. Therefore, he didn't report it to the general manager immediately after it happened. Although the general manager didn't particularly believe Secretary Lu's words, when he retrieved the company's surveillance video that day, he found a shocking secret. In the video, there were actually two Secretary Lu, and the other one entered the company later, and he hid in the bathroom as soon as he came in. Later, the real Secretary Lu entered the bathroom. Although he didn't know what happened soon after, Secretary Lu walked out of the bathroom, went straight upstairs, and went to the general manager's office. After that, it was what happened later. After Secretary Lu gave the laptop to Luan, this Secretary Lu went downstairs again and entered the bathroom. Not long after, the Secretary Lu, who wore the company's uniform, walked out of the bathroom, then went downstairs and left the company. All of this showed that there were indeed two Secretary Lu, and the Secretary Lu who entered the office to help the general manager and president, he was probably the fake one. This discovery made the general manager a little speechless. It was really a great calculation, but he still failed miserably. The opponent completely took advantage of an unexpected loophole. He didn't expect that the opponent could turn into Secretary Lu, and it was exactly the same, so that he couldn't find any flaws. Of course, he didn't think of this at the time. If he thought of it and looked at Lin carefully, he would definitely find some differences. After all, the appearance could be disguised, but there were still subtle differences in height and figure. This couldn't be made up for. The same was true for the voice. No matter how similar the disguise was, it was just a disguise. If one listened carefully, they would definitely find the difference. However, the general manager didn't think that Secretary Lu would be impersonated. Seeing this, the general manager knew that both Fanny and Secretary Lu were innocent. The two of them were also unwitting victims. The main culprit was that fake Secretary Lu who had appeared out of nowhere. Fanny retrieved the company's surveillance footage from the past few days. Take a closer look and see if there are any suspicious characters. The general manager instructed Fanny, Secretary Lu, go take a look as well. See if you have any recollection of it. Yes, my boss, Fanny quickly replied. Secretary Lu also nodded in agreement. The two of them left the general manager's office and went to the surveillance room to check the video. However, in terms of suspicious characters, besides the Ling who came the day before, there were no other suspicious people. The others were basically old customers. They all had historical cooperation, so they were excluded. Only this Ling's identity was extremely suspicious. He claimed to be the purchasing manager of the Buffon family's hotel group. In reality, there was no such person at all. Secretary Lu also had a very deep impression of him. Fanny, take a screenshot of Ling and the person who impersonated me and compare them. Secretary Lu said, Okay, little Lu, are you suspecting this Ling? Fanny quickly operated. Her computer skills were not bad. She easily took a screenshot of the two people's images. And, yes, I suspect that this person is the person who impersonated me. He is the most suspicious. Secretary Lou nodded. Hiss, Fanny took a screenshot of the two people's images. After comparing them, she realized that other than the difference in appearance, the two people were shockingly similar in terms of body and height. These two people were practically the same person. It's him. Secretary Lou slammed the table and stood up. He said with certainty, I'll report to the general manager now. Fanny quickly stood up and went to find the general manager. This was also a good opportunity to clear her name. Otherwise, although the general manager felt that it was someone else who did it, she and Secretary Lou would still be a little suspicious. Very soon, the general manager who received the news ran over. When he saw the comparison images on the computer screen, he frowned. He was now 100% sure that he had been tricked. However, what was Yi Ling's identity? Looking at Yi Ling's appearance, he should be Asian. President, he of the Overseas Cultivators Association, was also Asian. Then, could there be any connection between the two? It was no wonder that the general manager was suspicious. After all, this incident happened too coincidentally. This transaction with the Overseas Cultivators Association was only known by him, Fanny, Secretary Lou Tay, and a few other core people. Then, there was only He Luodan himself. This Yi Ling obviously knew the news in advance. On the first day, he came to survey the terrain. On the second day, when it was time for the transaction, he directly came to the general manager's office to do something. If this person wasn't He Luodan's man, even the general manager himself felt that things couldn't be so coincidental. Give me the phone, I want to talk to He Luodan. Although the general manager's injury hadn't healed after taking the recover pill, he was more or less recovered. He could still move around in the wheelchair, but it was a little inconvenient for him to take the phone. Okay. Fanny quickly passed the phone to the general manager. At that moment, the general manager's only thought was to question He Luodan and ask him if he was the one behind this scene. The phone was quickly connected. He Luodan's angry voice came from the other side of the phone. What do you want? What do you want? I can tell you that I have investigated the matter clearly. I have the surveillance video as proof. Don't say that this person wasn't sent by you. There is no such coincidence in this world. The general manager scolded him. What are you talking about? Who was sent by me? What surveillance video? Are you crazy? Why do you think that I wanted to cheat you of your drugs? Is there something wrong with me? Did I cheat you of your drugs? He Luodan coldly snorted. Chapter 30, 287. Let's see. He Luodu's phone indicated that he had received an email, so he hung up the phone and opened the email. However, when He Luodu saw it, his expression instantly became incomparably horrified. Linny, why did this kid actually appear in the Red Conch headquarters? And on the day of the transaction, the Secretary Lou that came was Lin Yi's impersonation? This video had been clearly recorded by Fanny, so He Luodu didn't have to spend much effort at all. It was clear at a glance. However, He Luodu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Did the general manager treat Lin Yi as his own person? He Luodu dialed the general manager's phone number again. Before he could speak, the general manager questioned him. How is it? Did you catch him red-handed? You didn't expect me to have such a strict recording here, and our analysis and reasoning are also very exquisite, right? Do you dare to say that this person isn't from your Overseas Cultivators Association? Wait a minute. He Luodu interrupted the general manager's words impatiently and said coldly, First of all, I want to state one thing. I know this person, but he is definitely not from our Overseas Cultivators Association. You know him? Not from your Overseas Cultivators Association? The general manager snorted. Can't you say something more convincing? Don't interrupt me first. What I want to say is that this person is not only your enemy, but also mine. His name is Lin Yi, and he once killed an elder of our Overseas Cultivators Association. A few days ago, he was chased by our Overseas Cultivators Association. This isn't a secret. You can ask around, and you will know the details. Nuclear, Laudu said. Really? The general manager was slightly stunned. The name Lin Yi seemed a bit familiar. Where did I hear it before? Of course it's true, and I understand what you mean. Don't you think that I sent someone to scout ahead and then do some tricks to cheat you of your drugs? Hiladu asked. Yes, why? The general manager was slightly stunned. Then why do I have to do this? I can just carry the empty box and change my account. Why do I need to send another person? Isn't it unnecessary? Moreover, this is simply not feasible. Luonan said, Do you think I need to do this? The general manager thought about it. What Luonan said was very reasonable. He had previously made a mistake, thinking that Ling was Luodan's man. But now that he thought about it carefully, Luodan did not need to do that. Moreover, whether Ling's name was Lin Yi or not, whether he was an enemy of the Overseas Cultivators Association, the general managers only needed to investigate, and the truth would soon be revealed. All right, I'll go and investigate. If this matter is really a misunderstanding, then I'll give you the drugs in this transaction as an apology. The general manager was straightforward. After all, the trading site was his company. If there was a problem, it could only be his own problem. He could still afford to lose. Oh, thank you very much. I'll be waiting for your good news. Luodan didn't expect the general manager to be this easygoing. It surprised him a little, and his heavy heart felt a lot better now. Also, what made him feel relieved was that Lin Yi and Yang Qiqi really had nothing to do with each other. Lin Yi didn't even look for Yang Qiqi. Instead, he escaped to Ruele de town and somehow heard about the deal between Luodan and Red Conches and went to cause trouble. Luodan didn't think that Lin Yi was after Red Conches. He thought that Lin Yi was after him. After all, he had just started a feud with Lin Yi, and no matter how he thought about it, Lin Yi was after him. How could it be so coincidental? Therefore, thinking of this, Luda felt a little apologetic, although the box of money was lost in the Red Conch Group. And the transfer was also a mistake. It wasn't the Red Conch Group's fault. This way, he might have lost 2 portions of money and gotten 1 portion of drugs, but it was a very balanced situation. After all, Red Conches was dragged into this mess because of Lin Yi. After the general manager hung up, he told Fanny to investigate Lin Yi's case. This was quite easy to investigate. Fanny called Dafeng Bro, the person in charge of the domestic headquarters. Dafeng, it's Fanny, Fanny said after picking up. Ah, it's Assistant Fanny. Hello, what can I do for you? Dafeng Bro was Lin Yi's man, but he was still very respectful towards Fanny on the surface. After all, Fanny was his direct superior. It's like this. There's a person called Lin Yi. Do you know him? Fanny got straight to the point. Lin Yi? I know him. I've reported this person to the headquarters before. He's the boss behind Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and Advisor Zhuge had a conflict with him before. He killed him. You told me not to mess with strong domestic practitioners like him. Dafeng Bro didn't know what Fanny was talking about, and why she was asking about Lin Yi, but he didn't dare to say anything. Oh, Lin Yi, it's him? Fanny was startled. She didn't expect Lin Yi to be Red Conch's enemy. He was the one who killed Advisor Zhuge. Jiang Wen also said that Red Conches and the Fire Wolves had a deep grudge with Lin Yi. All right, I got it. Fanny didn't ask any more questions. It was enough that she knew who Lin Yi was. He was an unconventional practitioner in Huaxia, and she didn't need to ask to know that he had nothing to do with the association. Luonan wasn't stupid enough to send a practitioner to cause trouble in Huaxia. If people found out about this, they'd definitely boycott him. He'd be digging his own grave. So, after Fanny heard about this, she immediately went to the general manager and told him about the situation. What? Fuck. It's that Linny again? The general manager found the name familiar. Now, he finally remembered who Lin E was. So this kid was one of Red Conch's enemies. Lin E. Eling, playing such a trick. This kid is really cunning. In that case, this kid is here to cause trouble for our Red Conch headquarters? Very likely, Fanny nodded and guessed. Chapter 3288. Yeah, what should we do now? Issue a wanted order to kill Lin E? Fanny thought about it and asked, That's definitely not possible. Even the Overseas Cultivators Association can't do anything about Lin E. Where can we find Lin E? Forget it. Let's not get involved in this matter. With Dauphin's ability, going to trouble Lin E is equivalent to courting death. The general manager waved his hand and said, Then this matter. Let's just let it go. Fanny was a little unwilling to be fooled. Let's forget it for the time being. The general manager shook his head and said, Our current business is only drug trafficking. Our strength is not as good as the Firewolf gang. Let's report this matter truthfully to the higher-ups and let the behind-the-scenes boss decide. You mean that, Miss Lon? Fanny was surprised and her face changed slightly. The general manager nodded slowly. Some things were beyond the scope of his decision. Naturally, he wouldn't force himself. Fanny was very tactful. She knew that when the general manager called Miss Lon, she'd better avoid it. This was the rule of the Red Conch. After Fanny left, the general manager dialed Miss Lan's phone. What's the matter? Miss Lon quickly picked up the phone. It's like this. The general manager truthfully reported the matter of Lin E, and he looked to Miss Lon. Lin E? I understand. Miss Lon frowned. It was Lin E again. This guy really knew how to cause trouble. However, Miss Lan's mind wasn't on Lin E. In fact, for her, the Firewolf gang and the Red Conch were just byproducts. Her ultimate goal was to find a person. This was the most important thing. Hearing that Miss Lon didn't make any comments and replies on this matter, the general manager didn't dare to ask more. After hanging up the phone, he lit his phone again. I'm sorry. I have already investigated. This matter was indeed done by that Lin E. So, my previous promise is valid. I will send the drugs over. The general manager said. In fact, the general manager already felt that he owed a lot, but Luda didn't explain this matter. So, he pretended not to know. Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. Both of them thought that Lin E was targeting them. So, they didn't hesitate on this matter. They both thought that they had taken advantage of him. Of course, it was not that the two did not want to seek revenge on Lin E, but they did not have the opportunity for the time being. Miss Lon, who was behind the scenes of the general manager, did not say anything, and Luta was now seriously injured. If he wanted revenge, he could only choose the right time. Lin E, on the other hand, was waiting for Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pill after crafting the necklace. Chi-Chi didn't go to the association right away. She waited for half a month before appearing at the association again. This time, young Chi-Chi appeared as an Earth-class late-phase peak. Be it the elders of the association or chairman, both of them were shocked. They never realized that Yang Chi-Chi was a practitioner genius. Yang Chi-Chi, you're already an Earth-class late-phase peak? Luda looked at Chi-Chi, a little shocked. He was glad that he didn't make things difficult for Chi-Chi because of Lin E. Otherwise, Chi-Chi would have left the association already. Putting aside the question of whether or not Chi-Chi's background had the ability to get her to leave, Chi-Chi's family was huge overseas, different from Tang Yuchi's. If Chi-Chi wanted to leave, he wouldn't be able to treat her like Tang Yuchi. Plus, he Luda had received some news from his brother, the Xiantian ancestor. Chi-Chi's sister, Little Nine, could very well be an earth element inheritor called Tu Ran Ran. After all, the Xiantian ancestor was the one in charge of the inheritors and the Sky-class island project. Even if the Yellow Earth sect was a sect in the West, they couldn't avoid the Xiantian ancestor if they wanted to participate in the Sky-class island project. They could only tell him about the inheritors, and that was how the news reached Heluda's ears. He had been in contact with the Xiantian ancestor for the past few days, and he mentioned Lin Yi as well. But the elder told him not to worry, that someone would take care of Lin Yi when he got back. Yes, Chairman, Chi-Chi nodded politely. Elder Wang, go get a great recovery pill and give it to Chi-Chi. This is the tradition of the association. Chi-Chi, don't reject it. The chairman said to Elder Wang before turning to Chi-Chi. Thank you very much, President. Chi-Chi said happily. Chi-Chi, I heard that your sister, Little Nine, is the inheritor of the Yellow Earth sect. Heluda asked. Chi-Chi's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect Heluda to know about this, but she didn't want to hide it. After all, exposing Little Nine's identity would only benefit her. No matter how strong Heluda was, he wouldn't dare go against the entire ancient world. The identity of Little Nine's inheritor was like a protective talisman. Whoever dared to touch Little Nine would be the entire ancient world's enemy, which one of those Sky-class late-phase peak and full-circle peak didn't want to participate in the Sky-class island project and ascend to Sky-class strength. Yes, she's the long-lost sister of the Yellow Earth sect's young master, Tu Ba Wang. Chi-Chi nodded. Haha, you and her are both cultivation geniuses. But Chi-Chi, how come I didn't see it before? How did you train so fast? Did you have some sort of miracle? Heluda asked, tentatively. Of course, he wasn't suspecting Chi-Chi. He just wanted to know if she had some sort of secret. President, the truth is that I didn't cultivate internal martial arts in the past because I couldn't calm my heart. You also know that internal martial arts cultivation is different from external martial arts cultivation. One is quiet, and the other is active. In the past, because of Little Nine's matter, I went around looking for medicine wanting to cure her illness, so I couldn't cultivate in peace. But now, her problem has been solved, so I can cultivate at home, Chi-Chi said. But because of the uniqueness of the assassin group, we're not allowed to reveal our strength to the outside world. It's just that I was stuck at a bottleneck before, and I trusted the association. That's why I told them. Chapter 3289. Yes, Chairman. Chi-Chi nodded. Elder Wang, on the other hand, had already retrieved the Chi-gathering pill. He gave it to Chi-Chi and left. Chi-Chi returned to Island X without a hitch. Even she didn't expect things to go this smoothly. But it was probably because of Little Nine's identity that Heluoluo didn't dare to suspect her. Lin Yi didn't think that Chi-Chi would get things done this quickly. Seeing how easily Chi-Chi handed the Chi-gathering pill to him, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. Chi-Chi's feelings towards him were unreserved. This Chi-gathering pill was a very important pill for practitioners, but Chi-Chi didn't hesitate at all. She gave it to him like it was a normal thing. Chi-Chi, you don't want to ascend to Sky class? Lin Yi sighed and asked after taking the Chi-gathering pill. I want to, but with Lin Yi bro here, I don't need this pill. It'll be a waste if I eat it. Chi-Chi shook her head. All right, Chi-Chi, but you have to eat the next one. Otherwise, Heluoluo might get suspicious, Lin Yi reminded. It's fine. Heluoluo won't dare do anything to me now. Yang Chi-Chi waved her hand and told him about Lil Chiao. Oh. Lin Yi paused. The fact that Little Nine was an Earth affinity inheritor was rare even in the ancient world of China. How did Heluoluo, the chairman of the Practitioners Association, know about it, other than the people of the Yellow Earth sect? Only the Xiantian ancestor knew about it. Could it be that He Luolua was connected to the Xiantian ancestor, but no matter what, this wasn't bad news at all. He planned on leaving a chi-gathering pill for Chi-Chi no matter what, but Chi-Chi's face changed. But now, Lin Yi might be able to take the second pill for himself. Even if Chi-Chi hadn't broken through, as long as Xiaojiu was here, he Luoran wouldn't dare do anything to her. But that was just Lin Yi's thought. It was better to be safe than sorry. If he could get through this, he wouldn't need Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pill. As long as he could rebuild his name in the ancient world, he wouldn't need Chi-Chi's chi-gathering pills. Kong Mingming's pills would come to him. Thinking of this, Lin Yi said, if that's the case, then I'll go into seclusion and refine this chi-gathering pill first. Now, Lin Yi had to do his best to increase his strength in order to deal with the predicament he would face when he returned to the ancient era. Lin Yi had to go and intimidate them again. Chi-Chi, Jiu, Shirhan, and Cheng-Yi all knew about Lin Yi's current situation. Naturally, they wouldn't say anything. That day, Lin Yi entered her guest room again to take the chi-gathering pill. Not bad. The pill in Lin Yi's hand had a medicinal aroma. It was a chi-gathering pill. But from the looks of it, the quality wasn't as good as the one Lin Yi took last time. But it was no wonder that the one Lin Yi took last time was made by Li Ju from the God of Dan chapter. And this pill, if it wasn't from the Sky Elixir sect, then it was from their previous stock. It definitely wasn't as good as Zhang Liju's. But it was good enough that he had one. He wasn't picky. Anyway, the quality of the chi-gathering pill only mattered when used to break the barrier. A good quality pill would increase the success rate, but an experienced pill wouldn't make any difference in the end. Lin Yi had the experience of taking a chi-gathering pill before, so he wasn't too nervous. After preparing the pill, he took a deep breath and slowly put it in his mouth, swallowing it. Immediately after, a warm current flowed from Lin Yi's abdomen to his whole body, and it was as if his meridians were on fire. This feeling was something Lin Yi had experienced before. It was painful, but Lin Yi knew that this was a path he had to go through, and so he didn't try to resist it. He just let it happen, gritting his teeth and waiting for it to happen. After that, the burning sensation intensified, and Lin Yi felt that not only his meridians, but his whole body was on fire. But even so, Lin Yi gritted his teeth and persevered. This feeling was very familiar to Lin Yi. It was the same feeling he had the last time he took a chi-gathering pill. The more painful it was, the more it was a sign of a breakthrough. The energy released by the chi-gathering pill flowed continuously from Lin Yi's abdomen into Lin Yi's meridians. And as time passed, Lin Yi could feel the energy in his meridians increasing. The huge amount of energy was rushing at Lin Yi's meridians, as if it wanted to expand and expand them. On Lin Yi's forehead, beads of sweat rolled down continuously. This painful feeling was getting stronger and stronger, but in Lin Yi's heart, he was very excited. After all, if he didn't feel this way, Lin Yi would be crying. It wasn't easy to get a chi-gathering pill, but it didn't have any effect. If that happened, Lin Yi would have the heart to die. As Lin Yi's pain deepened, the spiritual energy in the air gathered and circled above Lin Yi's head, forming an extremely weak vortex. It formed a resonance with the true energy in Lin Yi's body, and it circulated rapidly around Lin Yi's body. The faster it spun, the faster Lin Yi's body temperature rose. Finally, there was a loud bang in Lin Yi's ears, and his whole body trembled. His meridians seemed to explode in an instant, and at this moment, Lin Yi knew that he had broken through Heaven Middle Stage. At this moment, Lin Yi had the strength of Heaven Middle Stage. It could be said that Lin Yi was one step closer to that peak. Heaven Rank Middle Stage was only 4 stages away from the peak of Heaven Rank Late Stage. Thinking about the journey from Golden Stage to now, Lin Yi was filled with emotion. It was only a short year, but it felt like a lifetime. In this year, too many things had happened, and he had too many responsibilities on his shoulders. These responsibilities constantly urged Lin Yi to work hard. Fortunately, this qi-gathering pill allowed Lin Yi to smoothly level up and break through, and the current Lin Yi with the essence necklace could probably kill an expert with the strength of the peak of heaven late stage, right? Chapter 3290. All this time, Lin Yi had been racing against time, and he'd managed to confuse a lot of people. Of course, Lin Yi had successfully broken through to Sky class mid-phase, and it was time to go back. Hiding outside wasn't the way to go, and without any elixirs, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to break through again. On this day, Lin Yi said goodbye to Chi-Chi and Jiu, bringing Shirhan and Chung-Yi back. But in the time Lin Yi was gone, something big happened in the ancient level, and it was all about the Palace of Darkness. But because of how big the incident with Lin Yi was, not many people paid attention to the Palace of Darkness. Qibing had been living a hard life these days. Not only did he have to clean the toilets with one arm, but Meng Yao made it worse, pushing all kinds of dirty work onto his shoulders. Now, Qibing had become the executioner of the Palace of Darkness, feeding the cows and goats. When the disciples were on duty, Qibing could be seen everywhere. He didn't want to do it, but he had no choice. The Palace of Darkness had become Meng Yao's word now, and as long as her actions didn't harm the Palace of Darkness, the Grand Elder wouldn't object. Qibing's backer, Elder Black, had lost his power as well, and he couldn't even protect himself. How could he care about Qibing? Qibing felt so wronged. Just thinking about it made him angry, but there was nothing he could do. In his heart, he was planning to go to the Sky Elixir sect, but he couldn't just go as he pleased. Although Kong Ming had agreed, he had to show some sincerity if he wanted to, right? If he just went, he wouldn't have any position in the Sky Elixir sect. He might just end up as a disciple, and it wouldn't be much better than being in the Palace of Darkness. He wanted to stand out and get revenge on that bitch Lin Yi and Meng Yao. So he needed strength. A man couldn't be without strength, but without status, where would strength come from? Qibing basically had no chance of leveling up in the Palace of Darkness anymore, unless Meng Yao died or something happened to him. Just when Zhao Qibing was racking his brains, unable to find a reason to surrender and offer benefits, a phone call made him ecstatic. "Hello, is that Zhao Qibing? I'm Kong Ming." Kong Ming's arrogant voice came from the other side of the phone. Back then, Kong Ming was just a playboy from an ordinary family that was not even an aristocratic family. However, he became an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, one of the largest sects in the ancient times. Of course, he did not know that Kong Ming was the son-in-law of Xianqin ancestor. If he knew, he would be even more envious. "It's me, Elder Kong. Are you looking for me?" Qibing said respectfully. "It's like this. Let me ask you something. Is Chu Mengyao really powerful in the Palace of Darkness now?" The Xianqin ancestor knew a little about the Palace of Darkness. During this period of time, the Xianqin ancestor was a little anxious. This Lin Yi hid abroad and wouldn't come back. Those who went to cause trouble for the Yellow Springs sect also stopped. The Xianqin ancestor didn't know where to start if he wanted to deal with Lin Yi, but it was impossible to let Lin Yi go just like that. Putting aside the fact that Lin Yi made little leaven into this state, just the conflict from before was enough for him to not let him go so easily. So the Xianqin ancestor wanted to force Lin Yi back and see how the sects that were going to cause trouble for Lin Yi would react. If they didn't cause trouble for Lin Yi, then it meant that there was something wrong with what happened before. If they did cause trouble for Lin Yi, then the Xianqin ancestor could just sit back and watch the fire burn. However, no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't find a suitable reason. However, Kong Ming's words enlightened the Xianqin ancestor. Kong Ming was up to no good. He suddenly thought of a good idea, and that was to get Chu Mengyao. As Kong Ming's status rose, the Xianqian ancestor also told some secrets to Kong Ming, such as the Heaven-class island plan. At this moment, Kong Ming also knew that the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect wanted to take in wives and concubines. He wanted to take Bingtang as his wife. It was nothing more than setting the status in advance to prevent the future Heaven-class island plan from affecting the plan by losing his virginity. The wife and concubine of the Heaven Elixir sect's young master was equivalent to the young master's woman. She could temporarily keep her virginity. So, Kong Ming suggested to let the young master of the Heaven Elixir sect go to the Dark Night Palace to propose. After all, the Xianqian ancestor had to do these things in the next few years. When Chu Mengyao was in trouble, how could Lin Yi just sit and watch? This way, Lin Yi would definitely return to his country, and his enemies would come to his door. Even if his enemies didn't do anything, the Xianqian ancestor could hint to some others to kill Lin Yi in the Dark Night Palace. Of course, the premise of all this was built on the premise that Lin Yi had to show up. That was why there was the scene of Kong Ming calling Zhao Qibing. "Ah, it's like this for now." Zhao Qibing nodded and said, "Now, in the Dark Night Palace, Chu Mengyao's words have enormous weight. Even the Grand Elder doesn't object to it." "I see." Kong Ming frowned. What if the Heaven Elixir sect went to propose, and the Grand Elder stopped them? One had to know that the Grand Elder's temper was bad and stubborn. If she stood on Chu Mengyao's side, then things would be a little difficult. Just like Ice Palace's Bingtang. The Ice Palace had the power to be strong, and if Bingtang didn't agree, the Xianqian ancestor couldn't do anything. They couldn't let the Heaven Elixir sect attack the Ice Palace, could they? That wasn't realistic. Luckily, Bingtang knew that she had to be a virgin in order to start the Heaven-class island plan. The Ice Palace was a branch of the Five Elements sect, so the ancestral teachings definitely said this. So, he wasn't worried that Bingtang would mess around. It was the same for the Snow Valley, but what made the Xianqian ancestor unhappy was that the Ice Palace and Snow Valley actually changed the inheritors to Lin Yi's first and second wives. What a scam. Even if they were virgins now, there would definitely be resistance when the plan was carried out. This resistance was Lin Yi. So, in the eyes of the Xianqian ancestor, Lin Yi had to die. But because of the wood element inheritor on Boss Bai's side, the Xianqian ancestor didn't touch Lin Yi. Chapter 3291. And Kong Ming was his son-in-law. Even if Boss Bai was angry, he wouldn't really do anything to Kong Ming. It would just leave a knot in Boss Bai's heart. What's wrong? What's wrong? Qibing felt that Kong Ming's tone was a little irritated, so he asked, curiously, "Nothing. But, Qibing, I have a mission for you. If you do it well, I can recommend you to come to our Sky Elixir sect. I can't promise you the position of an elder, but you can be a deacon." Kong Ming said, "Ah, really? That's great." Qibing was overjoyed. "Elder Kong, tell me, what do you need me to do?" "Don't worry, I'll do my best to complete the mission. It's nothing much. In a few days, something might happen in your Palace of Darkness. You just need to report the reaction of Grand Elder and Mengyao to me. You don't need to do or ask about anything else," Kong Ming said. "Is that so? All right, I understand." Qibing quickly nodded in response. "You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.